Go. Is it working? I'm live right now. All right. Good to know. I do need to pull up my. It's over here. The tubes. Tight. All right. Go into studio. Beard hair in my mouth, sorry. Studio. All right. Cool. I like to see right there. This pop out chat. This here, bring this over here. Cool. Here we go. All right. I'm happy. All right, first up, we got Adam Friedland on the Elon Musk versus Trump. Stand up on the spot. Cheers to that. Get some chai and coffee. Per usual. Get the best of all worlds with that one right there. Just because we got to stop vaping these lungs. I know you guys are hearing me. I don't want to die. So we got these little pouches. Pop one in. Shouldn't affect the way I talk. This one is nice 12 milligram mint flavored by Ammo. See how that is. If I don't throw up, I'm okay. I figured we'd just start with a little bit of comedy. Keep things light. If you're waking up on the East Coast, sitting on a bus or something, going on the train. Watch from Adam Friedland.
Jews? Okay, the truth about the Jews. The suggestion was the truth about the Jews.
Truth about the Jews. That's a touchy subject, but hey, he's Jewish. He can answer it. It's his lane.
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good right now. Honestly. Right now.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years. For the last 2 years, people have been mad.
Yeah.
At me. Because I did in Gaza or something. I don't even like them. No, I shouldn't have brought that up. Okay.
He wasn't getting any laughs out of that. That's too good. Continue on, Adam.
Fuck. Here's what changed, guys. 2 things.
First of all, you changed, Adam. Like, he used to be kind of introverted, and come town, he was kind of that guy that was a little quiet, got spoken over a lot by Stavros and Nick, but they all saw something special in him and knew who he was going to become when he got older, and he's really blossomed into that guy. He's going to be pretty dope when we're all a bunch of old people and be kicking it, and he's going to have quite the resume. He's funny as fuck.
Got blessed by 2 people. Ramaswamy blessed us. It's been Jew for two years, and now he said he did a tweet about we used to have Stephen Urkel or something. I don't know, but people are mad at Indians now, and it's good for us. It's good for us. Look at them; they poop on the street and stuff.
You guys, if the audio's all messed up, let me know, please.
And Kanye's been amazing for us. Kanye's been great for us. I've been watching this Kanye thing. I've been like, thank God. Because if Elon is working at the government, how? If he works at the government, he's doing this. That's not good.
Not good.
That's not good for us. That's someone at the government.
Yeah, guys, like,
but Kanye is making it sound like it's a guy that's pooping.
Elon straight up gave the salute at a government event in D.C. in front of a crowd of people. What? Steve Bannon? Now, he should have been in trouble, but like Elon, it's kind of a goofball. Bad joke. But wow, he got away with that. What's he doing?
His pants on the train. He's making anti-Semitism seem like like it's an insane thing, when we all know it's a thing that makes total sense.
After his own.
The Jews control the media. It's just quieter. Yeah, we do. We made it up. We invented Hollywood. Yeah, we should control. It's like our... I'm sorry. I'm getting mad at you guys right now. It's like our Palestine. We invented it, okay? Did I lose you here? You're a big fan. What? What did I do? I was making a good point. My
He's the only one willing to go there. I'll give him that.
agent called me after October 7th. You know that?
Please.
He's like, how are things?
Please keep your mouth shut for a little while. Yeah.
And I was like, in my career? And he's like, no, with what's happening to our people right now. And I was like, damn, we really do control it. Wow, this is funner than doing my material about, I don't know, eating pussy or whatever. What? Any other suggestions?
Radiohead.
Shut up, Radiohead.
Radiohead. Where do you go with that?
Let's do a great bit about Radiohead. It's one of the most awful suggestions I can imagine. Radio.
Lawyers.
What?
Army of lawyers.
What is that?
What does that mean?
What is an army of? What are you fucking talking? What is anyone talking about anymore? Everyone like
People are all stuck in their own little corners of the internet, and they got these things that they really care about, and no one knows what they're talking about. You guys, some of you probably don't even know who Adam Freeland is. The Come Town podcast.
now? I used to get called gay in middle school for liking politics. I cried at school about Bush stealing the election. It used to be gay to like politics. Someone was like, and I was like, that's the rules. That's how it is. I cried because he did steal the election. It wasn't fair. I did a walkout.
He's starting to get drama.
I did a walkout. Because of the Iraq War. I did a walkout in school, and me and two of the fattest girls walked out.
That's too funny.
Because I cared. I cared. Me and these just two monsters. I was like, me and these two gothic Latinas, we care about this. Colin Powell lied to the UN, and we're the only ones that care? Now everyone's an expert on politics. It's the worst one now.
That's so true. Like back in the day, no one gave a fuck about politics. No one cared about working out. Like if you were into these little, like, I don't know, they were niche at the time. It's like people just wanted to live their lives and have fun, not think about things. They just like coasted. You know? It's really weird how everybody's obsessed with everything nowadays. It's kind of cool though, you know, consciousness. We're going to all be totally tapped into all knowledge at the same time. So that's pretty cool.
It used to be good. We need to let the guys that like, oh, I killed Kennedy, like, we need to let them back into the government. It's too white trash these days. It's too, like, it's gross. We let these slobs in our government. The Fetterman would put a shirt. Why do we have this big monster in a hoodie?
Yeah, that's true.
It's
What's
the
he doing?
government. Put a shirt on. Your mom is watching right now. You're breaking her heart.
It's PA.
Why? What? What did you say?
It's PA.
What? It's yeah. That's his state, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Great one, dude. Amazing. Amazing. It's PA. Actually, do you remember when he was running for the Senate? That was the best thing I've ever seen in my life because it was Fetterman just had a stroke.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
he was running against Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
And
Of all people.
do you remember this?
was
Dr. Oz was just such
part
a
of the
dick. He was
administration
such a
now.
smug dick.
Yeah.
Fetterman couldn't put a sentence. He was like, he was having a tough time. We like
Still,
America hates like know-it-all nerds so much. We elected like part of guy. It was one of the funniest things ever. What else do you want to fucking know? You? What are you looking at? Nitrous? Oh, you guys are just...
Alex cares.
Fat chicks with skinny guys.
What?
Fat chicks with.
I fucked a fat girl one time.
you go.
I actually,
Earn your stripes,
I
bud.
forgot about it. Okay, and I was reminded recently. It was amazing. Okay. My friend's like, yo, he's like, I fucked this girl that said she fucked you 9 years ago when she was fat. I was like, I never fucked a fat girl. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did. I did during the Tinder years of 9 years ago.
Okay.
I showed up to one, and the picture is different. They were different
They
pictures
take the angles and
from
make
her
their face
Tinder
over
profile. But I was like, I don't want to be rude.
Right?
I don't want to be like, I don't want to. I'll be nice.
Such a gentleman.
I'll have a drink with her.
Right.
I don't want to. That's
Just
rude
cool
if
as
I
fuck,
run
huh?
away. Just crying like, no. I want to be nice. So I stayed, and I was like, hi, what's up? And I was like, where are you from? And she's like, Hawaii. She said Hawaii.
What? Said it all correctly.
She said Hawaii, and I was like what? Like Dog the Bounty Hunter? She's like, well, no. I said, what? Where are you from? Honolulu? I don't know why. I say things like that to people. I say the one thing I know about a place.
Get more
It's
specific.
really embarrassing.
Right.
Someone says Paris, I'm like, fucking Arc de Triomphe, yeah? It's just a terrible quality as a guy to know one thing about it. She's like, I'm sorry. Okay. So I was like, where are you from? Honolulu? And she's like, the big island. She said that.
Yeah.
And the one thing I knew about the big island is that Dog the Bounty Hunter that's where he's from. That's where the show was made, was the big island. So I was like, oh, like Dog the Bounty Hunter? I don't know. I didn't say duh. Dog the Bounty Hunter. And she was like, he used to chase perps through my backyard. And I was like, I'm gonna fuck this girl. I was like, I'm gonna fuck her.
Yeah.
And so I did. I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna fuck her. That's so sick.
Right?
That the dog chased perps through this girl's.
That's a good
And so I
reason.
did it. It was
Enough, right?
potentially the best sex I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like,
Okay,
it's the thing, guys.
listen.
Like,
Every single time a woman.
gotta remember those who might be a little bit they don't have the looks about them as much as others. They tend to make up for it in other ways, and she must have really known what she was doing to, leave an impression on Adam like this. Give it a shot, boys.
Has agreed to consensually have sex with me, I've been like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're an idiot. Imagine your father letting this Jewish Rumpelstiltskin. You're like, there's some. But she was like, thank you. She made me feel like a beautiful woman. I felt
Yeah, she made you some dank food.
for the first time, I felt like someone was like, I thank you. I need that. And I was like, I wonder what she. Oh, my friend was like, yeah, this girl you fucked 9 years ago when she was fat. And I was like, when I
What's she look
remembered
like
it,
now?
I was like, I feel so bad for you, dude. Because the version I got was amazing. She was the most appreciative. I gotta text him and ask what the name is. I got engaged, but recently I got. Now, what are you staring at me for? This was a great story about me finding love, and she didn't even hit me up afterwards.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even have to ghost.
You never
I didn't
called?
have to be like, oh, I was molested when I was 3, and I wasn't molested. Incest, you were so blessed. It's so funny. People just say anything to a comedian nowadays. What has happened in society?
Yeah, that's true.
Someone's like, they're like, Stav ruined the world, I think, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Right.
People you think were important now, people are in the crowd are like, me, ooh, me. I was fingered, my uncle. Let's talk about it. I have nightmares. I'm going to tell a stadium full of people. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a speech pathologist.
Speech pathologist.
pathologist.
Good job for a fucking fall. How'd that go? How'd I do? I'm not very good at crowd work. Let's bring up Jeremiah. All right.
One more time for Adam Friedland.
I'm
Adam
fired up.
Friedland. Hell yeah, bro. Nicely done.
What are we doing? Suggestions?
Yeah, let's do a couple.
All right.
Okay.
I hate all of them, but yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I got. What? The Yankees? The baseball team? What would a good
What is this
joke
imagination
be for that?
playground that everybody's hiding in? Just go peek out of it when they're at a
Yeah,
comedy
here's a
show.
little taste of your own medicine, huh?
Yeah,
What
right?
do you tell me? Yankees on all. What do you just say? Two random things? You're like one of those people that's like, I'm totally random growing up. Penguin sandwich.
Yeah.
Grow up. And it's not the. You're like a manic pixie guy. I'm gonna get a dog and name it Cat. Just start a
says a lot about
family.
somebody,
Everyone just
that's
get
true.
married. Your parents aren't gonna keep paying for this, okay?
How many people have we met that had a dog named Bear? There's a lot of them.
Actually, my family is Mr. and Mrs. Fentanyl, and they.
He's like, I just wanted to get one suggestion in tonight.
He's gonna be like walking away like, you loser.
His friends with him like, you got owned, dude.
He practiced Yankees on fentanyl in like the Uber. He's like telling his girlfriend who's a hostage here, I'm going to say Yankees on fentanyl tonight. What are we going to?
What Adam and I like to do together is make you guys feel bad about
I'm
your
pissed.
suggestions.
Right. Man,
You're a
as you
positive
should.
comedian?
I try.
I'm like Bobby Slayton, the pit bull. No one knows that reference. It's a back
no
of the
idea
room
what that
reference.
means.
Yeah, it's working though.
Yeah. I'm like Bobby Slayton. I'm like Lisa Lampanelli.
Ever since I got sick, I still have
What
this
else we
runny
got?
Dr. House. Central Park.
That's a good suggestion, Dr. House. Actually, the first good one.
nose. Dr. House is a pretty good one. Yeah, let's see where he goes with this. Dr. House is
I just
fuck.
watched it. That's why.
He's on Vicodin all the time.
I don't know, a joke. I just thought it was a pretty good show.
Walking around Holland with a cane.
It was pretty good.
calling everybody
Every
out.
episode, they're like, you went too far this time. And he does it every time. He's so good at it. He's awesome, dude. And he's on drugs. Have you ever seen that
Yeah.
show?
House MD?
Oh, I forgot. Dr. House is actually called House MD. Fucking loser.
Really?
And now I hate him too.
Is it?
I was cool with him until I
That's some
found out.
Mandela effect bullshit.
It's actually called Bubba O'Reilly. Idiot.
Meet my friend, the sniper.
American Sniper, dude.
I did not watch the show too much. He's addicted to drugs and stuff while he's
And he
practicing
limps.
medicine, right?
Yeah, he limps like this, and he goes to.
It was so good that we had teachers in high school that would show it to us. You know, because there was always a good moral to the story. Every episode had its own little parable attached to it.
Too far every time. He's like, you're gay. And people are like, that's not even medical. What are you telling me? They're like, you've gone too far this time.
House, you can't keep diagnosing people as terminally gay.
But it's like a test, and then like he's like, if someone does something to a gay accusation, then it's an actual like, it's like always like a Jewish guy's last name and a Japanese guy's last name. It's like Goldberg Suzuki's. And they're like, look it up in the book. They're like, how did you even know? There have been 3 guys. He just knows everything. And he's pimp. He's so cool. He's a motorcycle.
It kind of sounds like you want to be him, Adam.
I wish he was a real guy, honestly.
Right.
I watch it and I'm like,
Literally the best doctor in the world.
Elon wouldn't stand a chance against it. If he met Elon would be done. He'd be like, you're gay. And he'd be like, I am the meme man. Why are people buying this? It's the worst guy I've ever encountered. And people say, people are like saying like, oh, Trump and Elon. Like it's like Trump isn't a box smash hit. He's box office. He's a generational talent, and this guy's the worst. Do you not feel me? If Trump spilled nuclear waste and killed 200,000 people, I'd be like, he popped off on that one.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine getting sent to Auschwitz by a guy saying, "I can has cheeseburger"? Damn! Write that down. That's a good bit.
Donald's great. I love him. Just serve McDonald's on Air Force One.
I thought you handled that suggestion pretty well, Adam.
Everyone should watch Dr. House. It's fucking awesome. It's sick, dude. And he's so mean to women. It's awesome. He says everything we're thinking.
Let's grab one more suggestion to round it out.
One more. Okay, yeah.
Mushroom trips.
Bad mushroom
It's the molested guy said that?
He's just started to own it. He's like, yeah, that's me.
Let's talk to her. Come on.
Do you have a suggestion, miss?
No, she could do better than this.
Pegging. Pegging.
Oh shit!
Oh, he makes you peg him? People need to go back to having secrets, I think.
Right.
I don't want to know.
You remember when it was taboo to talk about, religion, sex? Most people didn't want to talk about money. Now everybody's just open about everything, and it's kind of weird. But yeah, I feel it.
Therapy now.
You therapy?
Therapy now.
You want me to be your therapist?
You're a therapist. You ask great questions.
Oh my god! I
Very
don't want to. I don't.
emotionless.
Just stop talking to me, please. I'm looking at the floor right now. I'm feeling comfortable.
Just by briefly talking to her, it sounds like she can has a cheeseburger too.
Yeah. You like laser cats? You like Homestar Runner? That's what we're getting Elon. He sucks. He makes me like that lady when Trump was getting inaugurated. That's like, he makes me feel. I have Trump derangement. I'm Rachel Maddow about him.
You hate Elon that much?
I hate him that much.
But what if Trump told you that he was a really good guy, though?
It would be the first wrong thing that Trump's ever.
Adam Friedland, one of the great white Jews of our time.
They're gonna take white away from Jews pretty soon, and
I think he's already
can't
happened,
lose
Adam.
it. It's been so
think the
great being
Jews
white.
took it
They
away from
didn't,
themselves.
America let us be white because they felt so bad about the Holocaust. They're like, you can be white now, and it's been amazing. If I have to lose it in my 40s, white, to be a 40-year-old guy and have to just, I'm going to be an unk?
Unk status.
An old head all of a sudden? And none of the
OG.
young bulls respect me?
Nope.
Write that down, actually. That's good. You
Guys,
filming this?
keep it going for Adam Friedland. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Adam Friedland, one of the greatest. Just continues to get better and better. Oh no, don't do that.
Great.
No. I said no. But yeah, he's great. Fantastic. Excellent interviewer. Got to check him out. Yeah, and go back and check out some of the Cumtown podcasts if you've never listened to it. Back during the pandemic, those times, like best episodes in the world. Just classic. Launch those guys from nothing to stardom. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the next video. All right. Breaking Bill Clinton photos found in new Epstein files release. Boom, boom, boom. But Fox News. Don't worry, we'll check out CNN next. Let's give it a like. We got 203,000 views in 12 hours. It's pretty good. And remember when this guy Will was on ESPN? He was really good. I loved it when he was talking about sports. But then all of a sudden, the Colin Kaepernick nonsense went down, and you could tell this is where he was going to wind up. He's a great orator. He knows his positions well. He's not going to bow down to an argument. And he's got a great voice. Really like him. Cool guy.
The pages of Epstein files. We've got some new pictures from the files to show you, and we're going to go to David Spunt in Washington that has those photos and the latest. David.
Hi, Will. About 300,000 pages. That is the goal of the Justice Department to get that in by the midnight deadline tonight.
Especially coming from a Justice Department that said that they didn't have anything to give us. So what's that about? You know, right now, according to a lot of ancient scripture, we're in the time of truth and revelation, and a lot is going to come to light right now, heading into the new year, especially this winter time frame.
Says there will be several 100,000 pages released over the next few days and week or so. But I want to be clear that these photographs and some of these documents have literally no context. They don't have dates. They don't have names. They don't have times. Some of the photographs, we recognize people. We want to show one of Jeffrey Epstein and former President Bill Clinton, the 42nd president of the United States, appearing at what looks to be at a party wearing what appear to be silk shirts. There are
looking good, Bill. We've got the evidence. It just lines up time and time again. The rumors are there for a reason. Look at these guys just living a lavish lifestyle and taking over the world, running crime syndicates, and probably working for some of the worst people behind the scenes that aren't in the pictures. Never in the
two photographs of them in this Epstein files release. We don't know who the other person is. We don't know when this was taken because the Justice Department does not say so in that evidence. So this is all incredibly nuanced, and I want to make that clear.
See, that's what I'm talking about. The world is not run by the people with the names that we know about. Like, I would be very skeptical that Elon Musk is the richest man on the planet. I think there are many more people behind the scenes that have been running the system, building the control grid for a long time. They're the people we don't know about. Family names we don't know about. The true hidden black book capital reserves. I don't know if we'll ever know. Oh, who's that guy?
Clear to our viewers. Also, there is a lot of redactions on many of these pages. For example, if we have it, we can show. If we don't, we can't show. But it's just essentially black chunks. It talks about a masseuse list, and it just says masseuse list, and there's 7 pages of complete black chunks. And then there's an asterisk in the corner, Will, and it says to protect victim information. And the law that was signed by President Trump after being passed by Congress directs the DOJ to put all of this information online in a publicly searchable format, but it calls on victim information to be protected. The law also clearly states that politicians, titans, industry titans, or famous people, world leaders, politicians, anybody that may be embarrassed by some of the information should not be redacted solely for that reason. Right. So right now we're continuing to look through this. As you can imagine, about 40 minutes ago. That would be a bunch of
bullshit if they were just like, oh, this person's going to be embarrassed, or, oh, it's going to cause a stock market crash. Oh, whoop-de fucking. You need to know who these people are. You need to be held accountable or at least questioned.
When the Will Cain show began is when these documents slowly started coming online. We're expecting about 300,000 here today to be online, but it's tedious because it doesn't have specific information at all, or dates, or any kind of identifying information. We just happen to know, obviously, former President Bill Clinton in that photograph, Will.
So really quickly, David, as a point of clarification, is it a searchable database? You can put in a search term. You can make your way through those documents, even though there's 300,000. You could proactively look for something. It's less a discovery tool at this point, but you could look for something that is currently in those documents. So if it has that function, you could search Bill Clinton, or you could search Donald Trump.
Correct. Some of it is searchable right now. I'm fairly confident to say all of the documents are not uploaded right now, meaning the tranche that's supposed to be uploaded today, because it's a rolling basis to get those 300,000 up. The law calls for it, as you mentioned correctly, to be a searchable database for anybody
so
to
digital
be able to
these
go online,
days.
search.
I don't believe that they're doing this the right way. I think you could easily just launch all of it out there at once. There's got to be a reason why they're just trickling it out, maybe just so it's more digestible. I don't know. Today's day and age, it should be instant.
Information that they need. They're not going to find victim information, but it is notable the Justice Department website made us wait in a queue to get in, and if you didn't get in by a certain time, you've been locked out of that queue. So not everybody can get in at that time, which will raise questions about the bandwidth and about the site, but hopefully at some point everybody's going to be able to get.
And this is the U.S. government we're talking about. See, like, he's even hinting at it too. Like, come on now. Wait in a queue? What is this, Ticketmaster? Buying Taylor Swift tickets?
In because that's what the law calls for, Will.
Well, hopefully that means you have access as well. You're in before essentially the door closed, David. So I would ask this. We have about 15 minutes left together here on the Will Cain Show. But I would like, because there will be so many questions to be asked, if you wouldn't mind, take a look through that search function. It looks like we've already looked into the...
Yeah, well, like, you should just be asking, what have you found with that search function? Because they're up and running and using it already. Guaranteed, that's the first thing you do, right?
The idea of a connection to Bill Clinton. We should, for the sake of clarity, also looking for connections for Donald Trump. And I would like, because it's been mentioned on several occasions, both proactively and dismissively, any connections to foreign intelligence of Jeffrey Epstein. So any of that stuff that could come up in a search function in the next 15, we'll appreciate it, David, and appreciate the work that you're doing on this story. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll let you know. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
yes, nice short video. What do you think of that? Just kind of an intro to what's going on. 300,000 page document. Haven't searched anything yet. Not really any information there from Fox News right off the rip at the beginning of the show when it first happened. Maybe I can find a better video once we're done here. Let's just keep moving along. Here's CNN. 5 hours ago, so a little bit more time has passed. We were able to look through things. I'm sure they got a whole team of people working on it. Let's see what CNN has to say. I'm really interested to see how the left takes this. Because this is what they wanted, right?
Released. Now, I had a little hesitancy on that word because it's only part. The DOJ releasing a mass dump of heavily redacted documents tonight. And I want to just emphasize that point. By heavily redacted, I mean a lot of pages that look like this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And that's all I was going to do to the printer to make the point. Okay, there's a lot more of them. We have teams across CNN going through what was released right now in terms of pages that are not quite as black as these. But the DOJ is admitting in a letter to Congress that the files are not complete, separate from the redactions themselves. And that lack of completion is a big problem because the deadline by law, thanks to Congress forcing Trump's hand on the Epstein files, is today. Now, the key Republican who is behind getting that law passed is Congressman Thomas Massie, and he's posting on social media tonight, quote, unfortunately, today's document released by AG Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche grossly fails to comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law that Donald Trump signed just 30 days ago. And Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said, quote, release all the files. It's literally the law. Well, they did not.
It's
and
true.
They have not yet.
What are they holding back?
The White House saying tonight that it did not receive the Epstein documents that were released by the Department of Justice before the release. So they're saying that they weren't involved with what the DOJ chose to put out today. But the Justice Department did brief the White House on what the documents contain. So what do we actually have tonight on the pages that aren't black as the country starts to shut down and check out for the end of year holiday time? We do have some apparently never before released documents, along with thousands of files that were already public, the redactions, of course, and a whole bunch of pictures of Bill Clinton. Now, among the never before released documents is this photo of Bill Clinton. He's with Epstein. Got a print out of that one as well. And then a photo of a shirtless Clinton in a jacuzzi next to another person whose face is redacted. And a photo of Clinton swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and another woman whose face is redacted. Now, it's important to note Clinton has not been accused by law enforcement of any wrongdoing related to Epstein. And a Clinton spokesperson's posting on social media tonight. The White House hasn't been hiding these files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton.
If I was the president, I would not be allowing people to take pictures of me if I was up to something. So again, you got to be a little hesitant. I want to jump to conclusions here. He's noticing that pictures are being taken of him. He knows that they're all hanging out and associated together. And if they were up to something no good, I think as the president of the United States of America, you would stop that from happening. I don't know.
This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide forever. Now, as for Trump himself, he didn't want to talk about the files today. He refused to take questions about anything today when he appeared in public to announce a drug pricing order.
I won't even take questions today because there's no way I can take questions that are anywhere comparable to what you just witnessed.
To be clear, what he's talking about and what we just witnessed was an announcement from Trump about drug prices. MJ Lee has been going through the files such that we have them. And MJ, look, we got these photos, we got lots of redactions, lots of things missing, but there are still, many, many pages of documents that you are able to look through. What are you learning from them?
Yeah, Aaron, as we are going through these thousands and thousands of pages of documents and photos to try to figure out what's new, what's significant, are there people of interest that we should be taking note of? You're right that this is just a partial release of the so-called Epstein files from the DOJ. And what's interesting is that Todd Blanche has essentially informed Congress as of this afternoon that this is happening in this way because of the sheer volume of the documents that we are talking about. And what he essentially communicated is that we needed more time to figure out what information needed to be redacted, including on some information that the agency got recently. Now, one thing.
Why do you need to redact anything? That's my question. The American people, we are the ones that get to be private. They call it the private sector. Public figures, the people who run our government, those who are convicted of a crime, all that data should be available for people to go over and peruse at their own volition. It's really weird that they're hiding a lot of stuff. Like, I understand the victim side of things and keeping that all a secret, but I have a feeling that it's not just the victims. Potential power players out there.
That is interesting is that he made clear in this communication to Congress that they made a decision to withhold and redact information that goes beyond what is stated in the law. And just as a reminder, what is stated in the law is that there are 5 categories of information that can be redacted. That includes identifying information about the victims. And just scrolling through these documents, you can tell, there are photos where there is a black box over a woman's face. That clearly falls under that category.
Right.
But there are other examples as well, like child sex abuse, anything that shows physical abuse, anything that could hurt an ongoing investigation, something that could hurt national security. But the fact that there are going to be more documents coming out on a rolling basis and that so many redactions, again, beyond what the law originally stated, is going to have.
But here's the thing. If there's like some kind of child abuse situation, even if it's because they're like 16 years old, something like that, you can always keep the face of the people who are committing the crime and then black everything else out around that so that it's not a disgusting image of just like the highest degree of bullshit that could happen in this world. Those people should die a painful death, but it should say what crime is being committed next to the face of the person that is committing it. And then those things obviously were found to be used in court or can be in the future.
Huge political ramifications. And I also think we should talk about the ramifications that is going to have on the survivors, because one of the things that the survivors are very much looking for in a big picture way as they go through these files is a sense of a better understanding of why some of these internal decisions over the course of many years were made, including, what charges did the department decide to not bring bring on certain people? What were the decision-making processes that took place over the course of many years that they've never gotten the answer to? So this is going to be sort of a long-running process, and I can tell you with certainty that survivors are not going to be happy about what they are going to see as still the continued lack of transparency here.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, MJ Lee. And everyone's here with me now. So, Barry Levine, obviously, you've been covering this for years, and you've pushed every night here for the files to be released. So the day comes, the deadline comes, and we get some stuff. We get some new stuff. We get a lot of stuff we already knew. Yeah. We get a lot of black pages. And when it comes to men, we get a lot of pictures of Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Aaron, apparently there's about 10% of the actual FBI files that were released today. And 5% of that, 5% of the 10, we already had. Okay, so we're receiving, for the most part, very little. And, it's already been playing politics in the sense of putting out pictures of Bill Clinton. You have to wonder if the DOJ has assigned Jay Clayton at the SDNY to investigate Clinton and other Democratic enemies of President Trump. Why are they showing all of these photos of?
I have a feeling they've already gone through that. And they have no evidence of him doing anything wrong. Like I said, if he was president at the time or not, he's definitely going to cover his tracks and not let any cameras anywhere near him. And that might even include, Jeffrey saying, well, I'm not going to hold this guy to the same standards as all these other people, and I'm not going to have secret cameras set up for him, when Bill's probably opened a lot of doors for him, provided him with contacts, provided him with just a lot of access that he otherwise wouldn't have had. I think the Clintons, they're not stupid. Definitely, they might be evil, but they're not stupid. They cover their tracks.
Bill Clinton. You would think that would be part of the investigation. So that doesn't make any sense. We did learn that there's 1,200 victims, more than we initially thought, from the DOJ. The DOJ also said, and this is most important to me, and I think the survivors,
cover their track.
DOJ communications on investigations into Epstein and his associates and details of any immunity deals. And so I'm looking for the FD 302 forms, which are the FBI witness reports that Representative Tom Massey says pertains to 20 men that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked these children to. And from the initial look that I made earlier, I don't see any of the 302 forms. However, we may see them in a later document dump.
I mean, Stacey, just to state the obvious here, it's just definitionally impossible that it's random what we got today, right? If you're putting out 10%, someone's making a decision on what that 10% is.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like Todd Blanche is the propped up announcer of it. But to Barry's point, it's so significant that President Trump directed Pam Bondi to investigate Bill Clinton, directly named him in a social media post along with other Democrats. And then
which means it happened. She's not going to ignore the president like that. And Donald's not going to let that slide.
Answered the call and appointed a U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York to investigate.
And others, yeah.
And the policy of the Justice Department is you don't release anything related to an ongoing investigation, especially photographs about the subject.
Good point.
Of an ongoing investigation. And obviously it seems to be a disingenuous subject, being Bill Clinton being ordered to be investigated at this late stage of the game. It certainly did seem targeted at the time and still does. But why would they go against their own policies and then release Bill Clinton's photos? It's kind of makes a farce of this entire situation.
I mean, it really, right, if your whole point, if you were going to hide behind an ongoing investigation, the one that you've got going is into Bill Clinton. And yet we got a whole bunch of pictures of him in a pool and a jacuzzi and whatnot.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more building block, which is that the legislation, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, actually has an exception. It says you do not have to release information if it could jeopardize an ongoing investigation. So it's not just that's Justice Department.
I don't think it jeopardizes to say, like, hey, we're investigating this person. Here's some pictures of them looking awfully cozy, friendly together.
In policy, the law allows for them to actually.
And it's non-evidence. It just shows that they were, that they knew each other. At minimum, acquaintances, business partners, something like that. Just worth being looked into.
Specific law, right, that Massey this law. Yes.
Exactly. So it's the oddity that would be the piece that's released, and especially when the victims have named at least 20 men, and then we've only got one out of 20.
Right. And it happens to be that one. Okay.
Well, maybe those other 20 men it's all evidence-based, not just correlation.
Okay, Max. So, I mean, we all get that. And obviously, everybody, if there's anything more to know about Bill Clinton, then people should know it, right? Sure. But they should know about everyone else as well. The two men behind the bill, the law that Ryan's talking about, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, have both said this is a load of baloney. And Massie saying, basically get out.
Nothing is ever enough, right?
Out of town, right? His words are that grossly fails to comply with the spirit and the letter of the law. Then you had Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, has been a regular voice on this issue, but now other issues going against Trump. Does this become like everybody jumps on board to this or no?
There are now 3 things that are universally approved of in politics: motherhood, apple pie, and releasing all of the Epstein files, which is what makes
apple pie. What about support of Israel, buddy? Gross one.
Makes this so.
And when I say support of Israel, I mean like support of Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, and all of that.
So incredibly jarring, alarming, and politically stupid that the Trump administration is acting this way. They are either grossly incompetent, and that tells. Look at how they're dealing with issues of affordability.
All he did was not answer any questions today after he talked.
The Epstein
he's
conspiracy,
going to eventually, right?
The Epstein case. Call it whatever you want. They're on the wrong side of it. I cannot for the life of me understand why they are operating this way unless they're trying to hide something on behalf of Donald Trump.
I think it goes deeper than that. I don't think Donald Trump or Bill Clinton were stupid enough to let something happen like that. It's just, I don't see it happening. I think they're both the kind of guys that are very aware of who Jeffrey Epstein was and what he's capable of and what he's doing. They just opened doors for him because of everyone that they know or knew. All right, let's move on. Next video, Trump makes chilling remark about the 2028 election. Let's see what happens here. By Brian Tyler Cohen. I think I've seen some of his stuff years ago. Almost 5 million subscribers, so apparently he's got a good voice. Almost 300,000 views in 21 hours, 18,000 likes. Whether I like it or not, I'm going to hit that for the algorithm as he came into my little neck of the woods. Let's watch this video. Got 14 minutes. We'll see what happens.
This is Democracy Watch. Mark, there is a clip that has surged across the news. I'm going to put that on the screen right now.
Miriam gave my campaign, indirectly and directly, $250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay?
Now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years. And I said, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's and here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here. Oh, he had a flight. Alan is here.
Can you imagine if that happened? Like, it just shows that when it's a very Machiavellian, approach to things. Like if you win the game and rewrite the rules, you're no longer doing anything wrong. You're not breaking the rules if you rewrite them. So, that's just how the world works. It's always operated that way. It goes all the way back to the beginning of time. Those who are in charge decide how the game is played. They're usually the winners of the game. And, what do? You just got to keep playing the game by the rules, everything that's available to you. Use your tools, use your network. Get out there and make the change that you want to see in the world. Start by being that change. Let's see what else it has to say.
Tell me a second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another 250.
I will give.
So that was Donald Trump speaking with Miriam Adelson, where she is basically trying to convince him to run for a third term because she just spoke with Alan Dershowitz, who apparently has a book coming out where he argues that Trump has a legal pathway to be able to run for a third term. So first and foremost, as we have discussed in the past, is there a legal pathway for Trump to be able to run for a third term?
No. And I'm going to quote to you from the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. Okay? That is literally...
But remember, that was put into place in a former year with different people that were in charge of the world at the time. If you're in charge of the world now, you rewrite the game's rules. Like, what are you going to do? You gotta get up to that point where you can challenge them for that power, even if they try to go for it.
The very first clause of the 22nd Amendment. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice.
Right.
Donald Trump was elected to the office of president in 2016. He was elected again to the office of president in 2024. He has therefore been elected to the office of president twice. And the Constitution makes clear no one can be elected more than twice.
So I guess it's worth asking here, in what will probably be an inevitable attempt to parse words and figure out some legal maneuvering here, what about an instance where he's not necessarily elected to the office of president twice, but gets there because of, maybe there's retirements. Again, like there's been floated this idea that he can run as J.D. Vance's running mate, and then J.D. Vance steps down. Maybe there's some of succession maneuvering that he can do if he's not necessarily elected, but gets there by virtue of other people's resignations or retirements. Then how does that work out?
So I think the closest you would get to that would be that he would run for or be appointed Speaker of the House, who is third in line to the presidency.
Right.
And that Republicans would win the House majority in 2028. Then the president would resign, the vice president would resign, and he would elevate. That would be the theory, I suppose. But if Alan Dershowitz wrote a book in which that's what he's saying, first of all, what the fuck kind of book is that?
Yeah.
That's like not even an interesting tweet. Maybe it's a boring article, but if it's a book, there's got to be more to it than that.
Right. The more to it, supporting evidence and ways to do this. They wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't possible. I don't know. I think it's going to happen as long as he just continues to make good change, and by the end of the next 3 years, everyone's happy and paid and fed well. Prices are manageable. You're able to buy houses again, then sure.
Is that he knows that whenever somebody writes something sycophantic enough for Trump tweets about it, talks about it, gets it onto the New York Times bestseller list, sells a lot of copies. That person in turn gets money, rinse and repeat.
By the way, you guys want to watch some interesting videos, look up how easy it is to get on a bestseller list. That's why everybody's a New York Times bestseller or Amazon bestseller. It's a really cool deep dive.
Right. But look, this is completely irresponsible. And Alan Dershowitz was once a very well-respected Harvard law professor. And over time, he became a bit of a crank. And, the fact that he became a bit of a crank became a bit of a joke. But at the point that he is floating these kinds of wild-eyed, unconstitutional theories, we are well beyond the joke crank. We are into dangerous territory. So I hope he is in fact not writing a book. I don't know. He hasn't told me he's writing a book. Maybe he is, but I'm hoping that maybe there was some misunderstanding between him and the president, or him and Mrs. Adelson. I don't know. But, this is very, very dangerous stuff. And the more that this gets reported by the legacy media, as I saw it in the legacy media, reported as if somehow this may be a thing, right, as opposed to just, this is authoritarianism. This is literally what authoritarians do. The more dangerous this becomes.
Why do you think that
I don't know why we have to throw around the word authoritarian. It's not unconstitutional or anything to try and change the Constitution or the amendments, not the Constitution. You can't change that shit. The amendments. That's not you can eliminate an amendment. It's not a big deal. You can do that legally. So I don't know.
so intent on repeating this over and over and over again? Because, you know, the reality is we've heard this story numerous times. You and I have done videos on this story numerous times. It's always met with the same kind of backlash by people like us. And so why do you think that he purposefully or voluntarily introduces this story into the zeitgeist?
Yeah, so again, this is what worries me about the state of democracy right now. It is what worries me about the legacy media. It's the reason why I do these videos with you, Brian, and it is the reason why I need everyone right now to be a subscriber to this channel. And I need you to hit that bell and make sure you get alerted when there's new content, because the fact is the legacy media eats this stuff up. So why does Donald Trump do this? Because he wants to run for a third term, because he wants to serve for president for life, and he wants to violate the Constitution. He is violating the Constitution on other things all the time. So why not throw this in?
Is he,
and
though?
the problem is that the legacy media treats this as either not serious or as sort of a debatable legal proposition that the courts will have to sort out. I mean, look what they've done with birthright citizenship, something that could not be clear in the Constitution. But the legacy media loves the idea that there is like two sides to this, and that, you know, there are lawyers here and there are lawyers there. The lawyers who are saying that there's no birthright citizenship, they are crackpots. The lawyer who is apparently maybe writing a book saying that he can run for a third term, if he writes that, he is a crackpot. And yet too many people in legacy media treat these as respectable things. And what it does is it allows Donald Trump to normalize this thing. It allows him to spread a lie. And what happened in 2020 is he spread this lie and he spread this lie, and the legacy media told us, don't worry, he'll come to his senses. Don't worry. He just needs time to process it. Don't worry. Don't worry. And the next fucking thing we had was an insurrection that was violent in the nation's capital. So is Donald Trump planning on running for a third term? Is he planning on trying to maneuver around it? Or is he trying to inspire his now pardoned army of misfits to rise up with potential violence? Who the hell knows what's in Donald Trump's mind? But we need responsible media to be responsible. But Brian, I've given up on them, which is, like I said, why I need people to pay attention to what Brian is putting on his channel, because it's the only place, it's one of the few places you're going to get it as it is and not filtered through some corporate overlord. There's no venture capitalist standing behind this guy. There's no private equity firm, you know, just off camera telling him what to say. And so I'm sorry to go on a rant about this, Brian, but Donald Trump wants to normalize this, and there are too many fucking parts of society, pardon my language now having sworn 3 times, that are humoring this, and it only fuels it.
Yeah. And well, look, I appreciate that. And I would also recommend for folks who are watching right now that Mark has been absolutely clear-eyed about calling this stuff out from the very beginning, especially in light of the failings by legacy media. So if you are not yet subscribed to Democracy Docket, which is the news outlet Mark founded to focus on everything voting and elections, it is an outlet that I use on a daily basis. Oftentimes, it's the only outlet that's covering these attacks on democracy. So I'm going to put that link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. If you're not going to support Mark for the work that he's doing on the front,
YouTube's getting cool. You got just like little links that pop up in the corner, and not just at the bottom of the
lines in the courts, then support him for the work that he's doing in the media, highlighting these stories that absolutely need to be highlighted. Mark, it's worth asking here, you know, ultimately, despite the media's failings in condemning this, all of this overreach for what it is, the reality is that we also have judges, Supreme Court judges, who validate this stuff by virtue of their rulings. I mean, we had a Supreme Court that decided Section 3 of the 14th Amendment just didn't apply to Trump, even though he had given aid or comfort to insurrectionists on January 6th, and so he was allowed to run again, even though they had the ability to stop him from doing so. There were lower courts that said he had engaged in an insurrection, meaning that that provision of the Constitution would have applied to him. By the same measure, there was also the fact that the Supreme Court decided to create out of whole cloth this idea that a president benefits from criminal immunity, and so Trump was protected in that way.
I'm not the biggest Trump fan or anything, but there's a reason why we have a court system that's built the way it is. The Supreme Court has overarching rule, power to say what goes. Or you don't like that, man. Lower courts can say what they want, but they're lower courts. There's a hierarchy to this.
The extent to which the Supreme Court has contorted itself in blind deference to Trump. And so I'm wondering here in this instance, despite the plain text of the Constitution, what is your level of concern that the Supreme Court sees Trump's efforts to run for a third term and says, you know what, we are the highest power. We obviously agree with him politically. And so if that means, we can just kind of do whatever we want, so be it.
If there's a majority rule, that's the problem with the way that our system is currently set up. Like, I don't know what it takes to eliminate an amendment. It's probably a higher percentage than just majority rule, but I don't know. It's possible to eliminate it. Maybe you need 2/3 or something. That'd be weird. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't know my constitutional law. I should.
Right. And so this is why I'm so exercised. Because let's take those examples for a moment.
Yeah.
We have to recognize the Supreme Court for what it is. It is a very conservative court. We have to recognize
right now it is.
Its rulings for what they are. We cannot put blinders on. I agree with all of that. But part of not putting blinders on is recognizing that Supreme Court justices are also human beings.
Right.
They are affected by what is going on around them in the culture.
Sure.
And so, you mentioned, for example, the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and the disqualification clause. It wasn't just a lower court. It was actually the Colorado State Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was like a ruling by the highest court in the state of Colorado, interpreting, by the way, Colorado law, which normally is not even something Supreme Court reviews because it's the state of Colorado interpreting their own law, right?
Yeah.
As applying the 14th Amendment. But what happens is that Donald Trump's sycophantic followers in the legal establishment, they create two sides where none exist. They created out of whole cloth the idea that there is presidential immunity. I mean, the fact is
cops get immunity, soldiers get immunity from certain things, right? For sure. Maybe the highest ranking official in the country should also have some kind of immunity from making mistakes and decisions that don't turn out anticipated. It's a good thought experiment, at least.
U.S. Constitution actually gives a grant of immunity to legislators, i.e. members of Congress. And the Supreme Court has over time narrowed that so that it actually covers not a whole lot. And it doesn't give any grant of immunity to presidents. And yet...
Well, we've never gotten to the point where we want to look into that authentically. There have been times where presidents got in trouble and they kind of took it on the chin and moved on.
Of whole cloth, as you say, the Supreme Court found that there was. And I would argue that part of the reason why they do is that this permission structure gets going in which you have fringe right-wing legal theories. They get laundered through, more respectable sounding right-wing organizations. But even that might not be enough if the legacy media then doesn't then pick those up and then put them on an equal playing field with the plain text of the Constitution or what an overwhelming majority of Supreme Court litigators and law professors think. And so what happens is by the time this gets to the Supreme Court, this entire permission structure has been created that should never have started. So I have no doubt that by the time we get, if Donald Trump decides to run for a third term, by the time it gets there, there'll be some, organization that who the hell knows funds that we've never heard of with a very erudite name that will file a brief that says, yeah, he can run for a third term. But before we get to that, it had to have gone through Alan Dershowitz's book, to a White House podium for a Hanukkah celebration, to the legacy media then presenting that as if it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole structure, an organized system that slowly feeds this information to you, little by little, gets you used to it, so when the time comes, you're not so upset.
And it's not a real thing. Like the stories covering this should be,
right?
Maybe this is further signs of dementia by the president that he thinks this is a thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so with that said, what would your message be then to people, in the broader space, whether they voted for Trump or not, in light of, the beginnings of this effort, the germination of this effort by the Trumps and Dershowitzes and Adelsons of the world to kind of normalize all of this?
My message to to all of them, whether you support Donald Trump or you don't support Donald Trump, whether you are a big MAGA supporter or you hate MAGA, whether you're in the legacy media or you're just watching this video, is have you no dignity? Like, have you no self-respect that you want the Constitution's limit to 2 terms to apply to this president, regardless of whether you like him or you don't like him? I mean,
why do
it's
I
not
have
like
to
we wound up
agree
with a
with
2-term
something
limit
that was
just out of
written
the blue.
by
It came out of
a
a
bunch of
particular
people
historical
that are
background.
now dead for the most part, and the people that were alive at the time, very, very old, if they're still around. That's a totally different time frame, totally different period of history. We live in a different world now, so it's hard for me to just sit back and agree with things that are meant to be changed over time. That's why we have the ability to do it. That's one of the biggest rights that we have, for our elected officials to change these things. Add an amendment, remove an amendment, move an amendment.
Ground, which was that Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran for 4 terms. And after that, Congress just said, you know what? We never want that again.
Yeah.
We don't want any president.
The Congress at the time did. Yeah. Come on now.
Even though in that case, it might have been a beloved president by Democrats. We don't.
Guys, I'm one of those people that I support the president no matter who it is. I'm not just like Dylan Trump right here and like kissing his ass. Like, I'm just saying. Got to think about these things and approach it with an open mind. An open mind going into the future means that we have to start letting go of a lot of these legacy concepts. Our country was founded on leaving the legacy of Europe and changing with new, fresh ideas and ensuring that us down the line have the ability to continuously change, add, remove some of these antiquated laws or things that were just decided by a former generation that no longer apply.
Want any president to serve more than 2 terms. And so my message to the people who are spreading these lies, who are trying to find these loopholes, who are so intent on
it's not a loophole. It is the law.
Currying favor to Donald Trump. Don't you have some self-respect and some dignity?
I got a shit ton of self-respect. I've got a whole lot of dignity, brother.
For what it means to be an American, for what it
America first, baby. Absolutely.
Means to at least adhere to the basic norms.
Basic norms is the Constitution. The Constitution gives us the right to change the Constitution a little bit, certain aspects
of a constitutional system that we have. You know, is your dignity so fleeting and so...
I'm proud to be an American. Well, at least I know I'm free.
Valueless that you're willing to just say, you know what? I'd rather have a dictator. I'd rather...
Because he's such a dictator. He's not doing anything good for people. Now, how about you go back to one of these books? You got a dictionary back there, bud? Look up what a dictator means by definition. I think you'd find that Donald Trump is not a dictator. Simple win of that argument.
I'd rather have a guy who flouts the Constitution. I'd rather violate its plain text. I hope that isn't the country we are.
You know, I hope that you have someone in your corner that loves you. Because right now, you're acting like somebody who doesn't. You're a bit sour, bud. I'm sorry for whoever hurt you, whatever hurt you. You feel alone nowadays, and all you have are these books, your Mensa level intelligence. Sorry, though. It's going to be okay.
And I hope that we can be better than that.
Perfect place to leave off. Again, for those who are watching right now, clearly Mark's voice is...
Stop saying you're better than them or they're better than us. Like, stop comparing. All right? Comparison is the thief of joy. Be joyous. If you are positive and happy with your message, it would resonate better. If you're angry and bitter, it hasn't even happened yet.
One that needs to be elevated. And so I'm just asking for everybody who's watching to do their part. If you're not yet signed up for Democracy Docket, please sign up. Help support Mark's work. Help support his work in the media. Help support his work
Brian Tyler
in the
Cohen.
courts. All of it is invaluable, and we need to continue elevating him and his team. Again, that link is right here on the screen and also in the post description. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
That I got to think about that for a bit.
This is Democracy Watch.
Very nice, guys. All right. Let's move on to the next Bob. What do we have here? Ooh, these two. Uh-oh. Is that some Karen energy that I'm sensing? I've had it. 1.47 million subscribers. 293,000 views in one day. Couple hot moms. Let's see what they have to say. 21 minutes. We're driving for 21 minutes. Then we'll do it. Let's see.
All right. The most unpopular, most criminal, most corrupt, most demented president we've ever had. Of course, he wants to run a.
There's some pretty evil dudes in the office before, like behind the scenes, ma'am. Those were some fighting words you were throwing around there. Wow.
Third term. Not only is this unconstitutional and like the worst idea
currently constitutional
imaginable, but crazy people like to do crazy things. They
what were we taught, guys? By Dave Chappelle. You want to throw around the word crazy? That means that you're ceasing to try to understand somebody. Pretty sure he's the one that said that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. It's probably someone else that he took that from, but I think it was Dave Chappelle. You know, that means you're not trying to get to know me. You're not trying to understand where I'm coming from. You know, crazy is dismissive. And it's very elementary to be throwing the crazy word around.
They have delusions of grandeur. They think they can, they're 10 foot.
Okay, now she's using psychological terms that you have to be diagnosed by a doctor or delusions of grandeur. Is that something that she's qualified to diagnose someone with? Maybe.
Tall and bulletproof. I get that. What I don't get are these billionaires that encourage this behavior.
Sure.
There's absolutely no sense of country or help for humanity. It's just this guy is so corrupt and we can do whatever we want to with him.
Okay, how is he corrupt? In what way? Who is benefiting from him being in office that you can see and that you can prove? Can you? Wall Street? Well, the market's been going up constantly for years. Yeah, we might be in trouble here soon, but is he handing out contracts to people? Buddies like the Bushes did? I doubt it. I think that people would be all over that. Come on, tell me some evidence. Don't just talk in the shallow end of the pool.
So we will install him again and again and again until we have all the power we need concentrated in the executive branch so that we can just put in any puppet we want. One of these billionaires is a lady named Marian Adelson. She gave Trump $250 million the last time he ran. She recently, a couple of weeks ago, was sitting down, paid for a huge conference, and Hillary Clinton was one of the keynote speakers. And this is why people don't like Democrats, because they are duplicitous. They have their feet in two different puddles at the same time. And here is Miriam Adelson, an Israeli donor, talking about a Trump third term and how much should pay him to do it again.
And I don't think it's just Hillary being a Democrat. Democrats go, wherever the money is, or they're corrupt like that. I think it's just an Israel problem, right? Israel's giving money to both sides and quiet.
It's so brazenly corrupt and ridiculous. Play the clip.
And now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said
her idea of time is a little stretched out. It's a Hanukkah reception. It was not a few weeks ago. Recent.
The legal thing about 4 more years, and I said, Alan, I agree with you, so we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here, or he had a flight? Alan is here? Think about it.
Thank you.
Maybe I will be the first one who tell you, or second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another 250. But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy.
Okay, while all of the majority of Americans are struggling, I just read an article about Amazon workers unionizing because Jeff Bezos doesn't pay them enough. And they don't know whether they should
He's
buy
not the
a
only
Christmas
one.
gift for their family or
It's coming down the board, the whole economy, guys. Gals? Oh, now? Everybody, all the millionaires. Glad you're pointing the finger at the right people, though. It's the money we got to follow.
meal. And she just casually, hey, think about it, run again. I'll give you another $250 million. It's so incredibly grotesque.
Everything about this administration is grotesque. You hear that Trump is a genius brander, really, because people
don't just hear it, you see it. Watch the guy. His moves, his business moves that he's been making for years. Since he was a young man, money from his father and blowing it out of proportion to the profit that he was able to pay his dad back and live a lavish lifestyle for the rest of his life.
People cannot afford their health care. They cannot afford food. And he's building now his $400 million ballroom and his arch. And Miriam
Why don't you go get $400 million and try and spend it? This is building a ballroom for the country the whole time.
Adelson and her husband
Not making the taxpayers pay.
Paid, I think, $100 million to place the U.S. Embassy in Israel and Jerusalem. Miriam.
Again, she moved it with her own private money. Then move it. That's okay. What's wrong with having a building in a different city?
Adelson got the Medal of President.
Why is everyone so caught up on moving the embassy?
Medal of Freedom because of how much money she's given Trump. That was the criteria. And the fact that it's just, we're not even hiding it. Like, of course, there's been corruption in politics. We all know that. But they're not trying to even hide it. Yeah, she gave me $250 million. I'll do whatever I want. And I just want to remind everybody, you know who they keep talking about? Alan Dershowitz. He's ass deep in the Epstein files. He's another one that's ass deep in
or at least we're finding out today, right? We'll see if you're right or wrong.
Pedophilia, sex, trafficking. This is who they are.
If they had the evidence, he would be in prison.
Yes, and Alan Dershowitz is the same guy that Barry Weiss, who has face planted ratings-wise at CBS. She's completely face planted. He is the commentator, and this guy's like 80 years old, as Pump said, knee deep in corruption, knee deep in child sex.
Okay, remember, you got to have evidence. I want to see the evidence.
Traffic rings.
Just talk shit about people.
Barry Weiss said, we need to have Alan Dershowitz on the news more. We need this kind of commentator. And so I just think it's super important to point out.
Where did he get his money?
Now, Miriam Adelson just had Hillary Clinton as a keynote speaker, lecture young Jewish people and Americans at large about what we see with our eyes and hear with our ears regarding Palestine and Israeli aggression. And when you see a Democratic establishment icon, Hillary Clinton, on the stage with these people, you start thinking, and then Miriam Adelson is saying, oh yeah, run another term. And then you start saying, okay, they're controlling the opposition. Like this is why the Democrats are winning right now, but their approval rating is at an all-time.
It's not controlling the opposition, it's controlling everything. There are certain families in this world, everything.
Low, and it's because of this type of double play. It's this type of double speak. It's a lack of moral clarity. If Hillary Clinton wants to say democracy is the most important thing and the rule of law and the Constitution says X, Y, Z, but yeah, I'm going to go play patty cake with Miriam Adelson, even though I know she gives a fascist dictator $250 million to commit war crimes. That's the problem.
Again, go grab a freaking dictionary, lady. Dictator, fascism. These are not words to be thrown around.
Right there. All right, moving along. The Wall Street Journal's confirmed all of this. As if anybody thought that they were just joking around on the stage, Wall Street Journal's dug deep into it.
1.5 million losers that follow.
Brian Schwartz is reporting the Wall Street Journal. Trump privately spoke with his former impeachment attorney, Alan Dershowitz, about potentially being president for a third term. Dershowitz presented Trump a draft of his upcoming book called Could President Trump Constitutionally Serve a Third Term? They discussed Dershowitz's conclusion on a potential Trump third term.
Yeah, change the amendment. Or remove it altogether. Absolutely. Machiavellian. Change the rules of the game. Especially if you've already won the game.
Here's my thing. I mean, there's never been an argument against billionaires as much as if Miriam Madelson and others see what we're all seeing, the complete psychotic dementia breakdown that we're all witnessing, and they think, oh yeah, he needs another term. We know they're not thinking that, because any person with an IQ of 90 or higher can see that this man is wholly incompetent. But what they want is they're able to easily manipulate him. They're able to apply superficial charm. They're able to engage in quid pro quos. They're able to pay him and flatter him to have evil shit done on their behalf, stuff that they're able to skirt the system. Right. This whole country is set up for DEI from billionaires. And so if you don't believe me, and I know you all do on this channel, but take a look at, he did a press conference last night, not a press conference, a speech from the White House. And this is just one clip of how psychotic and mentally unwell he is. And I want you to notice the speech pattern and the flight of ideas. Play the clip.
Far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen. AI, automobiles, we're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There's never, frankly, been anything like it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was...
All right, y'all get the gist. So it was basically, I think it's like 30 minutes of him screaming like that.
The only thing like it is when everybody moved over to China. An exodus.
Lying and screaming.
Everything he said was a lie. And what's so interesting is I popped over to Fox News and they are acting like this was the Sermon on the Mount. Like he nailed it. And I came away thinking this was Sundowner Hour on steroids. Anybody who watched this had to think he's lost his fucking mind. The flight of ideas, the grandiosity. I mean, just off the top of my head, the lies, his math was wrong. He stuttered throughout the speech, screaming, it's dead. The economy's great. Biden screwed up the economy. Like nothing made sense. Like you could not watch that and think, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. He didn't do that. And here's the thing. He keeps talking about how great tariffs are. It's because he's so underwater on tariffs. The American people hate tariffs. So he sits there and gaslights. He lies about everything. And you know what he's worried about because he has to keep saying it. Oh, everybody loves tariffs. I'm so good at tariffs. Underwater, out the ass on tariffs. It's just one right after the other.
Not to mention that the Fed chair said that inflation is being exacerbated by the tariffs. And every leading economist has said that he has taken an economy with a trajectory when the baton was passed to him that was skyrocketing. And because of his use of tariffs and his inherent misunderstanding as to what tariffs are and who pays them, this in and of itself has caused so many fissures in the American economy, devalued the US dollar. But I think we all have to remember this is the point, right? The point of all of this is the suicide of a superpower. These people that want to bring down the United States have found an absolute moron with whom they can present trophies and business deals and flattery. And then they can get what they want. All of the United States of America is on the market right now. It's all for sale. Our military secrets, our scientific innovation. This is unprecedented beyond anything we have ever seen. And the abdication by Republicans in Congress and the abdication by industry titans will be something that will be in shame in the history books forever. And it's already starting to backfire. You see that Barry Weiss, as I mentioned earlier, her town hall with Erica Kirk, faceplant. When these people get out of their bubble and they are exposed to the masses, they're wildly unpopular. We saw with the Vanity Fair mugshots, everybody celebrated how shitty and how awful and how Nazi-esque these people look because that's how we all see them. They don't like it because they have to be in their bubble all the time where it's, speaking in tongues and high fives about, oh, you're doing a great job. We're the best administration ever. And so this is something that's really dangerous and why he's been able to artificially ascend in their mind. Because the way we are allowing this man to be covered is the first sin of this entire fascist takeover. And I want to, Kelly put up this tweet. I want to illustrate to you guys. Democrats don't have a messaging problem. We have a this problem. Kelly put up the first tweet. In 2014, ABC, CBS, NBC won't air Obama's primetime immigration address. Major networks wouldn't air it. And then in 2022, as Biden warned about democracy's collapse, TV networks aired reruns. So these were serious presidents that had serious addresses to the public. We have a very unserious, dementia-ridden fascist surrounded by Nazi-esque sycophants. And they will air him if he said, I'm going to get up and blow my nose for 45 minutes on national television. They would air it. And the purpose of the press is to shine a light on things to keep us all safer and better. And if you think about the work that the Boston Globe did during the Spotlight office, during the Catholic Church scandal, and how it shone a light on that. When you think about the brave journalists right now that are staying focused in a really, really dangerous minefield that this administration that hates the Constitution, that hates free press has set up.
Hates the Constitution and free
and then
press.
you see how all of these billionaires are buying the press so that they can exact a result that they want and sway the public. It's not working. And so we need to stay focused on how important it is when there are still journalists out there that work for some of these corporations. And we need to stay focused on how important journalism is and how messaging facts is. Now, Pumps and I are not journalists. We use the work of very
You're not a journalist
hard-hitting.
because you don't understand the dictionary. You'd be throwing around a lot of words there, lady. You don't know the definition of them. You're just using them in a crass manner. And you're a little rude. Getting a little manic. That's true. Just calm down. Slow down.
Source-driven journalists, and we use their reporting and then we riff on their opinions. But it is so incredibly important as we head into the midterms. He's underwater on everything, on tariffs, on immigration. And right now I saw a stunning stat that over 70% of Americans approve of immigration. That's bipartisanship.
Yeah.
So
We'll never know it, because you can't even get this
Tell me you're getting
Congress
your stats
to
wrong.
look at legislation or
Don't believe everything you see on the
introduce
internet.
legislation. And Trump no more is going to backtrack off this because Stephen Miller gets his rocks off thinking that people are in handcuffs and being shackled. They like the cruelty of it. So regardless of what the public says, this administration is an authoritarian administration. They're going to do what they want. They don't give a shit about the voter. Listener, it's time to shop, shop, shop. And it's so hard to find gifts for people that are personal.
Who photographed the it's so hard for me to call them a cabinet or advisors. I mean, the worst Americans on the planet. That's who he photographed. And he's a photojournalist, and I just think he did a phenomenal job. And he was interviewed by the Washington Post yesterday. He was in an airport in Paris. And I thought this was just fascinating right here. And I wanted to share it with you guys. So the journalist from the Washington Post asked the photographer, were there moments that you missed? Anything that happened that's on the cutting room floor? And Christopher Anderson answers, I don't think there's anything I missed that I wish I'd gotten. I'll give you a little anecdote. Stephen Miller was perhaps the most concerned about the portrait session. He asked me, should I smile or not smile? And I said, how do you want to be portrayed? We agreed that we would do a little bit of both. And then when we were finished, he comes up to me to shake my hand and say goodbye. And he says to me, you know, you have a lot of power in the discretion you use to be kind to people. And I looked at him and I said, you know, you do too. In this Vanity Fair article, and I know that Vanity Fair is owned by a corporation, but in these entities, there are heroes among us. And the majority of us value art, value journalism, value freedom, value expression, value democracy. The majority of us don't get our rocks off by browbeating Black people, by browbeating immigrants, by being cruel. The majority of Americans detest with everything in us, with every molecule, with every bit of DNA we have, we detest the cruelty and the regressive nature of this regime. And I commend Christopher Anderson for showing these people, and more than anything, putting a mirror up to these morally depraved psychopaths. And then
morally depraved psychopaths. Wow. You're out here spreading hate, though. What do you think you're doing?
Each day since this article is dropped, they have to get online and see everybody celebrating how shitty they look, seeing everybody draw the comparisons between the portrait taken of Joseph Goebbels and exactly the way Stephen Miller.
See her tunnel vision? Look at that. Look how mad she is. Girl on the right over here, she's chilling. I mean, she's chilling. This one over here, though. She's pissed. I don't like the words
Nailed it. Because here's the thing. When we call these people fascist, their only response is to say, you can't call us that. They don't.
No, they say, look up the definition of fascist, you silly goose.
Defend it. They're not offended. They're not offended by that.
Why would they be offended by that? They're not going to take it personally. One of the 4 agreements. Grow up.
They don't say, oh my God, no, we're not fascists. We believe in human rights.
Oh my God, we're not fascists. Well, just because I got to say it like this makes it so much more sincere. What? Be an adult.
You call them a Nazi, when you call them white nationalists, they just say, see, the left is using dangerous rhetoric. They don't.
Yeah, because you're just throwing shit around. And if it's not them, then why would they get upset about it? What? Why would you be defensive about something that you're not? And you know you're not. You know that these people are just trying to get you all riled up. Why would you give them that gift?
Say, oh my God, absolutely not. We embrace African Americans. We embrace Mexican Americans. We embrace a multicultural society.
To explain yourself to people that don't like you, won't listen to you, don't hear it. It goes in one ear and out the other.
When we call them homophobes and anti-gay bigots, they don't.
They're not homophobes and anti-gay bigots.
stand up and go to bat for gay Americans. They don't stand up and go to bat. They just say the left is being mean to us and they're using insightful language. And that's the fucking difference. That's the difference between the left and the right. If somebody called Pumps and me white nationalists, I would want to sit down and have a conversation about it. Because if anything I said gay.
I know plenty of gay dudes in California, of all places, LA, voted for Trump.
Off those vibes, I would be mortified. If anything in my past, anything, I want to sit down and atone for it. This administration continues every.
Beat yourself up for every last little mistake you ever made. I don't like your life. We'll make better decisions.
Single day in a bubble. And we have to keep bursting their bubble and stay focused and stay locked in to get us to these midterms. And it has to be too big to rig. We have to have such a massive turnout that even in all the gerrymandered red states, and these red state MAGA people are finding out. They are finding out right now that they have been lied to. They have been lied to by the Republican Party. Their faith has been weaponized against them.
About what? Give me your supporting arguments. Go back to high school. Give me some supporting arguments. Come on now.
And the gig is up. They're going to do a lot more fuckery between now and then. Trust me, they will. But you're seeing fissures in the Republican Congress a little bit here and there. And that's going to continue because the strong man right now that holds a dictatorship together is a frail ass old queen blaring Phantom of the Opera that can't even speak in complete sentences. So listen.
Oh my God. I feel so sorry for the people in her life. She's probably like this all the time, huh? Whoever hurt you, I'm sorry. But read a book. Start with the one that tells you what other words mean.
When you're online and you see people ridiculing the shit out of these people, go in on it. That's what they do. They have a whole bot farm that does all of this. We have real people. We have real numbers. So as we all head into this holiday season, remember, the majority of us are good. The majority of us embrace human rights and multiculturalism, and the majority of us hate these Nazi.
And JD Vance, he doesn't support multiculturalism. Who's he married to?
Fascist pieces of shit. And I love you, Christopher Anderson. The work you did on those portraits was incredible. All right, that's all we have. Please subscribe, like, and we'll be back later with more news.
I don't know if I'm going to subscribe or like. That was intense. Yeah, I've had it podcast. Well, I guess that's her shtick. I've had it. And then the other girl's the good cop. She's definitely like onto something with the billionaires and all that. I think she needs to lean into it there. All these people are agreeing too. Here's what it is. Oh, well, on to the next one, right? I don't know. You guys comment down below. Say what you think about these two. And yeah, I'd love to hear it. All right. John Mersheimer examines recent U.S. military interventions. Another 15-minute video. Maybe this guy speaks slow so we can put it on 1.5. We'll find out. Let's see what's going on with this one. This is a smaller creator, about 60,000 subs, 33 likes, almost 700 views from 2 days ago. Check it out. See if he's doing some good work over here. I don't know. Iron Descent.
Is there any moral basis for the president to have murdered, not directly, but through the Defense Department, 81 people on these speedboats, most of which were more than 1,000 miles from the United States?
Absolutely not. And as you've pointed out to me on the show, they claim to have a legal justification for what they're doing, but they won't show it to us. And once you hear that, you know.
Moral or strategic basis for the United States to invade North Vietnam. Basis for the president's threats to invade Venezuela. He has sent 18 Americans not engaged in violence and never charged with a basis for.
There's a moral case to be made.
Have they invaded Venezuela yet, though? Not technically. Right? So, I don't know. Hasn't really broken the law yet.
The question is whether there's a legal case to be made. Venezuela is this dangerous narco-terrorist state is laughable. And in terms of the legal basis.
Laughable that it's a narco-terrorist state? Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. There are certain things in this world that you just can't argue. Have you been to Venezuela? It's run by gangs, and the government itself is essentially a militarized gang. There's not a whole lot of opportunity there. Okay? They've gone through struggles eating food in a place that they should be able to grow plenty of food. Come on, man.
There's a moral case to be made.
Dozen ships, including the largest to Puerto Rico, sent 18,000 troops to colleague Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. The cost of moving those human beings and that equipment there exceeds $1 billion.
All right, that's what it costs. A lot of things that cost $1 billion these days.
I think the interesting question is not so much whether there's a moral case to be made.
How about the guys that are hoarding all of the money and have billions and billions of dollars that they're currently not spending? It's just like a clogged artery in the velocity of capital and money around this globe. How about that? Let's focus on bigger issues.
The question is whether there's a legal case to be made or a strategic necessity type of argument. I think there is no strategic reason for us.
How is there not a strategic reason? Imagine if we were able to get somebody that was more pro-America, anti-drug, and they were able to produce more farmland, and that might include, cleaning up some areas that need to be reconfigured and readdressed, kind of like they've done in Morocco. Yeah, but it's possible. They'll make the country better, and then they will also provide us with a lot of oil at a cheaper price, right? Pretty dirty oil from what I've heard, but the boys in Houston are the best in the world at cleaning it up, finding other products with stuff that they take out of the oil. Yeah, I don't know. Gas is pretty cheap already. Imagine if it got cheaper. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. That's pretty strategic, no?
To invade Venezuela. Venezuela simply does not represent a threat to the United States. And the threat inflation that the Trump administration is engaged in portraying Venezuela as this dangerous narco-terrorist state is laughable. And in terms of the legal basis for invading or attacking Venezuela, I believe quite firmly that there's no legal basis for doing it either.
Yeah, there is none. These are war crimes. It's murder on the high seas, and we have another video with John Mearsheimer that I've covered where I explain that. But
but murder on the high seas, there's not really any law seas, is there? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was all up to whoever's boat you're on.
What this war is about, I think it's easy for everybody to say, oh, it's the oil, it's the minerals. Yes, I do agree with that, but I think it's multifaceted. I think that's a little down the list. I think the number one reason is Venezuela is in our sphere of influence. Venezuela is a socialist leftist regime. The United States has always had antipathy to those type regimes within our sphere of influence, particularly during the Cold War for obvious reasons because of its connections to communism, right? What is the CCP? Well, Chinese Communist Party in China. They influence Venezuela. Also other BRICS countries as well. So that's probably the number one reason. Number two reason, this is in our sphere of security. Similar, but you could argue this is number one. And it might be. The fact that Russia, China, and Iran, these BRICS countries, they are actually helping Venezuela with their air defense systems, with their ABMs, and Venezuela is a patron of armaments and weaponry from Russia, China, and Iran in particular.
Yeah, and who does that all go to? It goes to people like TDA. And, we just had a couple guys who are currently out of the country, down there in Venezuela and in jail in Colombia, I believe it was, who are running the operations here in the United States, and robbery here in Denver. $4 million or something like that, jewelry, and then cut a guy's finger off or something. I don't know, but this is all being orchestrated from Trinidad and Aragua down there. It's really a big problem. I think that there's a time in this world that is coming soon where we go around and we clean up these cartels. They are terrorist states.
Number three, this is where I would say it's oil. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, exceeding Saudi Arabia and Iran even.
Yes.
They also have plentiful supplies of minerals, gold, lithium, and emeralds.
Tons.
Number four, this is probably going to be a precursor to war with Iran. Why? Well, war with Iran, you would anticipate that Iran is going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and disrupt the oil supply out of the Persian Gulf. If you started war with them again.
Sure.
Oil prices, they would jack up domestically. So you use Venezuela as the buffer. You pirate their resources. You bring in your...
It's not pirating their resources if the people who own those resources are willing to sell them to us.
Your U.S. oil companies, you seize their oil fields, monopolize their oil industry, control it, regulate it, exploit the prices, keep the prices artificially low, extract the oil yourself, ensure it's exported to the United States at artificially low prices. Right?
It's not an artificially low price if they sell it at that price. It is called capitalism. That's currently the system that the entire globe is running under, even the communists.
That's the idea. You'd be able to have the carte blanche to do so. You're going to install Maria Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, essentially a CIA Mossad asset, extremely pro-Israel, extremely pro-Bibi, extremely pro-Trump. And then that'll be the precursor. And then number 5, it's probably to restore and reestablish our deterrence capacity in the world. Remember the infamous neoconservative quote from Michael Ledeen. Every 5 to 10 years, you have to throw a small, puny country against the wall and show them who's boss. And this might be acute because what's going on in Ukraine? Well, this proxy war, the United States lost. Russia won. That's why you have...
It was not the United States war to lose. What have we gotten involved doing? We sent them some money. Doesn't mean we lost anything. Right? You can print more money and there's games to be played to make it so that money 10 years from now was nothing.
This 28-point peace plan, Russia's probably not going to accept it, but that's a story for another day. I digress. But in the United States, Ukraine, they know it's over. This corruption machine's done. The United States is admitting defeat. We need to restore our deterrence capacity. So we pick on this small country, Venezuela, in our sphere of influence.
We did not lose anything, actually, in the war with Russia. Didn't we get a whole bunch of minerals and everything that was actually worth a higher value than the amount of money we gave them? Pretty sure that was part of the deal, and they followed through.
And the two doctrines that actually motivate this are the James Monroe Doctrine of 1823, which is when the United States declared regional hegemony of the West, North and South America, and the Western Hemisphere in general. It's a doctrine of deterrence. It essentially states that any act of influence, meddling, intervention, infiltration, militarism, colonialism, imperialism from the EU, but in the Eastern Hemisphere as well, is an act of belligerence against the United States. It's an act of aggression, and it won't be tolerated. Doctrine of deterrence, declaring regional hegemony of the West. And then what was the corollary? The corollary to that is the Theodore Roosevelt corollary of 1904. This gave the United States the authorization to actually police and intervene within regimes in Latin America and Central America. We can...
Right, there you go then.
Given us the authorization to meddle, intervene, and police our sphere of influence, our sphere of security, to remove or prevent any act of influence or intervention from the EU or the Eastern Hemisphere in general. So those are the two doctrines that are affecting our stance on Venezuela. And that's the current situation with the CIA doing covert operations. We can only surmise what that is. Obviously, they're probably trying to form a coalition, create a false flag, use that as a pretext, locate Maduro, assassinate Maduro, move money around, bribe dissidents, form a coalition, vet out military people within the government to see who's going to be part of this next government under Machado.
Only wonders what these people are thinking.
Was there a...
True there.
I don't want to go too far back into history, but of course this is in the era when you and I were in college. Was there a legal, moral, or strategic basis for the United States to invade North Vietnam?
Well, we never invaded North Vietnam. What we did is we put troops in South Vietnam and we went to war against North Vietnam and the Viet Cong who were located in South Vietnam. Was there a strategic basis for doing that? Well, the administration had a strategic basis that they really believed in, which was the domino theory, which many people argued at the time was ridiculous. And nevertheless, a number of prominent policymakers, including President Johnson himself, believed in the domino theory. And we thought, therefore, it was strategically justified for us to intervene. In terms of whether there was a legal basis, we were basically invited in by the South Vietnamese government. So it wasn't like we were intervening in Vietnam the way we invaded Iraq in 2003. We went in to support the government in Saigon. You want to remember that in March of 1965, it's March 8th, 1965, when the first combat troops go into Vietnam. At that point in time, the South Vietnamese government is teetering on the brink. It's in desperate straits. And that, of course, is one of the reasons that Johnson sends in the Marines on March 8th. But anyway, the point is that the government in Saigon desperately wanted us to come in and pull their chestnuts out of the fire. And we went in and we quickly realized that that was a Herculean task. And over the next couple of years, up until the Tet Offensive in 1968, we increased substantially the number of troops that we put in each month. And then the Tet Offensive happened and we eventually got out.
Yeah, so here we are fighting regime change wars in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Korea. We're fighting these wars under the guise of containing and stopping the spread of global communism. But really, it was about the
Don't even mention Cambodia, bro. You fucking kidding me? Those people needed our help. Shut up.
Soviet Union. Really, it was about their global imperial empire. Really, it was about toppling these regimes that were communist regimes. They were allied with the Soviet Union, a part of their sphere of influence, part of their sphere of security, their client states, part of their empire.
Yeah, and it's something that we don't believe in, we stand against. It has absolutely gone against everything that we stand for as Americans. Yeah, bro, we didn't grow up in the Cold War, okay? We don't know what it was like to be worried about nuclear bombs dropping on every city, just wiping out humanity at any moment. You know how tense that time was?
During the Cold War, here we are fighting superfluous wars in countries that pose no threat and are of no importance.
I got a lot of books back there. Read on the Cold War a bit more, man. I know you've already read on it. Read like an average civilian.
Under the guise of containing communism. Really, it was about overthrowing this communist regime, installing a capitalist democracy, realigning them to Washington, pro-Western on our side of the bipolar Cold War, and obviously reducing the Soviet Union's overall power and influence in the world and the size of their global empire and increasing our own.
That's about it.
Competing for global military hegemony, rule, supremacy, unipolarity, the ability to be the world's policeman, to lead in our.
We have a constitution that guarantees us freedoms. What was Russia offering to the world? Beautiful architecture.
Enforce our norms and our culture and our social values to spread democracy and whatnot. Control the world, right? And that's what it was. But those wars were obviously fruitless. And that same ideology of regime change, it's never worked. You can cite Iran, the coup 53, coup d'etat. That lasted 26 years. It was we transformed a democracy into a police state. The Iranian people loathed the Shah, who we reinstalled, the Pahlavi dynasty, gave him a secret police, a secret army known as Savak, trained, armed, funded by the CIA and the MI6, as well as Mossad. And he was oppressive, and he was a despot. And eventually what happened? Well, there's a counter-revolution. They overthrew him. Now you can argue there's an even more oppressive regime in, right? So that's the futility of regime change, and that's just one case study. It doesn't work. You either leave this country in anarchy, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, essentially, and there's just perpetual civil war. There's sectarian violence, there's radical factions and cabals, fighting for governance and authority.
Why would we go into those places that don't want us to be there and have nothing to offer us? Why would you? I don't know. Just in the name of peace, you go there and murder half the population? I don't know. All right. They got to figure it out. They got to grow up and move on. Find Jesus.
Within the shattered regime that you toppled. And then, obviously, if you install a democracy, well, what if the country elects a nationalist? What if they elect a candidate who's going to put their country first, not necessarily align their interest and their policy preferences to the country that carried out the regime change operation?
That happens.
Well, then the coup was futile. You got nothing out of it. Wasted time, money, lives, and resources.
You're going to have to change.
What if you install authoritarian regime like we did with Iran in the coup d'etat of 53 with MI6 and the CIA overthrowing Prime Minister Mossadegh over oil nationalization? Right. Well, eventually there's going to be insurgency. There's going to be a counter-revolution. Nobody likes when a foreign imperial...
I do like the idea of a nationalization of oil. It's pretty sick. Based.
Power invades your country, overthrows your government, and installs an authoritarian figure, transforms your society. Who would like that? So that leads to a revolution, that leads to a counterinsurgency, which is what happened, of course. So, and then after...
Malaysia basically gives gas away to their people. No one's got a problem with that. Maybe Indonesia does, because... they're not doing the same. This right next door.
With that, there could be another civil war, right? Or just a civil war in general. There could be infighting because this is the revolution. Maybe there's differences in in political aspirations and whatnot. I mean, it's just regime change doesn't work. Nation building doesn't work. Afghanistan shows you that. And but the United States keeps going back to the well. And most of the American people keep falling for it. The same people who fell for Iraq's alleged WMDs.
It's not falling for something,
and
you
alliance
believe
with
in it, and you stand by it, and you have your own rationale behind it. This doesn't mean you're falling for something, bro. Why is everyone full of just like this abstract language and it's just not backed by evidence? You're not being a fool if you agree with the opposite side of your opinion.
For the 12-day war in Iran's nascent nuclear weapons program and their nuclear hedging. You thought they were building a bomb. You're going to fall for the Venezuelan drug cartels, narco-terrorists. You're falling for that hoax. Infeasible. 1,300 miles away. 250-mile fuel capacity until the tank's depleted. They don't have the fuel capacity of the United States. They refill in the middle of the ocean. They're loading several live bodies. Why would you do this? That's inauspicious, ineffective. You'd want to load the most amount of drugs to smuggle into the southern border for the most amount of revenue relative to the amount of time and money you have to spend to get to the United States. I mean, you don't have to have an IQ of 140 to understand that these are not narco-terrorists. It's a lie. This is murder on the high seas. It's just like what we did with Manuel Noriega down there in Panama on Operation Just Cause in the 80s, trying to provoke and goad and bait the Maduro into flippantly attacking us, although justified because it would be considered self-defense because of the naval warship provocations and bombing fishermen boats and tugboats and speedboats of innocent.
Yeah. So what's a speedboat doing out in the middle of the fucking ocean? No beaches nearby. You got a bunch of packages and extra gasoline with you. What are you doing out there? Fair question, right? Because they've been capturing these vehicles many years now, one by one here, one there. They know what they look like, know what they're doing, the routes they take. When I was in Costa Rica, there's a little boat in Zancudo that takes you to Golfito, to the grocery store. And sometimes they cut through the mangroves and all that. The guy who drives the boat's pretty good at it, right? You just wake up every morning, you go down to the dock, be there at about 7 or 8, I believe. You just wait in line, pay a small fee, and then you go over there for the day, and then about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you all head back. And one day, we all go down there, and the boat's gone. Not there. So we're all waiting around, waiting, and then eventually we get word of what happened. Our boat driver was arrested. Yeah. Why? Because his job in the middle of the night was to drive his little fast speedboat all the way out into the bay to a specific GPS location, where at that time that he arrived, a package would come up from the sea floor that was sunk down to the floor and fill up, raise the package to the surface of the water to that GPS point, and he would be there to pick it up, load it up onto the boat, boom, 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 package of cocaine that just came from Colombia. He got caught. And he was in one of these similar boats that they're blowing up with satellite images that we get to see, or jet image, like whatever, whoever's shooting these guys down. I assume it's from the jet. Cameras on it. I don't know. Something that's taking the pictures, taking the images, whatever. It's, they know what they're doing. They're not going to be out there just indiscriminately murdering people. Who does that? Communists do that. Have you read your history? Come on now, bro. Especially Cambodia. China? What the hell? Really? A lot of people did. Get your head back in the game. You're a smart kid.
Non-combatants. So that's what we're trying to do, and then we'll use that as a pretext, as a justification for a regime change war. So Donald Trump has morphed into John McCain. He's morphed into George W. Bush. This is Joe Biden with a closed border. That's essentially what it is.
CIA have the president of South Vietnam assassinated, and didn't we lose about 52 or 55,000 troops?
Well, the Kennedy administration was involved in the overthrow of Diem. Diem was the president of Vietnam, and he was assassinated in 1963. I believe it was right before President Kennedy was assassinated. And after Diem was overthrown, we thought that what would happen is that his replacement would create more stability, and we wouldn't have to intervene militarily in South Vietnam. But the fact is, as bad as the situation was under Diem, it got worse with his successors. And that, of course, is why we eventually had to go in. But we were definitely involved in the...
We never had to do anything. Remember that. People that we voted for have the right to make decisions on our behalf. That's why we voted for them. We didn't have to go to Vietnam. We wanted to go to Vietnam.
Coup/assassination of Diem.
Not just to sell
and with regard to the number of troops that we lost in Vietnam, this is killed in action. I think the number is closer to 58,000.
Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Small Brain Podcast.
All right, bro. We'll be watching this here in a little bit, but first, we're going to do this. $300 billion on the line as EU debates risky move against Russia. What? About a 9-minute video. She talks a little slow herself. Love her, though. So we're going to up this to 1.5. Hope you don't mind. All right, let's get to rocking and rolling Fox Business. You know they got a lot of views, a lot of subscribers. I don't need to show you.
To unleash frozen Russian assets to rebuild the country. $300 billion is sitting in European banks. The EU offering another solution, approving a $105 billion loan to aid Ukraine without touching the frozen Russian assets. This loan would fund Ukraine for 2 more years of potential war. Zelensky warning that Vladimir Putin is preparing for another year of fighting, despite all of the peace negotiations underway. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet with a Russian delegation in Miami this weekend for more talks over a peace plan. Joining me now from Brussels is U.S. Ambassador to Belgium, Bill White. And it is my honor to call you Ambassador now, sir. Good to have you. Welcome.
Good morning, Maria. Live from Brussels. Merry Christmas to you. It's great to be with you, and I hope you and your family and the team are doing great.
Thank you so much, and right back at you. Ambassador, we want to get your take on this issue. I don't understand why we're having peace talk after peace talk, and now the Europeans are saying, well, here's more aid for war for another 2 years. So in other words, we have an expectation that this war is going to go on another 2 years, even as President Trump is trying to end it?
Well, I certainly hope not. And I can tell you one thing: if anybody is able to bring this,
like I was just saying in this last video, this is not our war. We're losing. We got our shit. We got our payment, our reparations, the initial investment that Joe Biden gave to them in Congress from a former year.
The peacemaker in chief, Donald J. Trump. He has the best team in Secretary Rubio and Steve Witkoff, who's a dear friend for over 20 years. There's no one more capable than working both sides to bring this to a peaceful end. As President Trump has said many times, the killing has got to stop. At all costs, we must bring this war to an end. And I think President Trump is the man at the right time, at the right moment, to be the peacemaker in chief, as he has done, Maria, with so many other conflicts around the world, as we've seen the issue with regard to the Russian sovereign assets. I think it's a very good idea that the EU is looking at an alternative. I just spent almost 4 hours with the CEO and chairman and the board members of Euroclear here. You know, Euroclear, its first investors were J.P. Morgan Chase. Many of our U.S. banking institutions rely on the stability of the market, settlement market, and closing here in Belgium. So futzing or scheming with that money, in my own opinion, is a very bad idea and could bring us to the brink of World War III. This would not be consequences that we could predict from Vladimir Putin. And I think President Trump is working on ending the war. So this is a very positive step.
I just think we're going to get to a point where Ukraine has exhausted all of its fighting soldiers. There's only so many men that are in the country willing and able to, especially front lines. Jesus. Save these people. We need peace in this world.
Not be touching the $300 billion in European banks right now?
I am saying that without guarantees to Belgium, there are serious economic, potentially catastrophic consequences to the Belgian economy. There are liabilities on a balance sheet. There's a very strategic board of directors and a competent team that's running Euroclear, and we had a very clear explanation from them that this would be catastrophic to the central bank movements of money around the world and could have consequences for the future. You know, America never touched the assets of Adolf Hitler in World War II, did not touch the assets of Emperor Hirohito in World War II. And doing anything with this money would be sure to aggravate Vladimir Putin, which is something I don't think President Trump is interested in doing. I think he's working very closely with Steve Witkoff and Secretary Rubio to bring this war to an end. So this money would be used as part of that negotiation. And if Steve Witkoff or Secretary Rubio does not have that money to do that, then it won't be there. And I don't think that's a wise decision.
Well, I understand that it takes away some leverage, certainly, Ambassador. But I mean, go tell that to the leadership of Poland, who had to defend itself because Russia was sending drones into Polish airspace. I spoke with the Secretary of State of Poland yesterday, and here's what he said. Watch this.
Poland are very much in favor of policy of sanctions. And the second, what we are very much in favor is the fact that we should use the frozen assets, the frozen Russian assets, which are in European banks. They should be spent on this defensive policy of Europe and of Ukraine, not the American taxpayers' money, not the European taxpayers' money. There is Russian money which is frozen in European banks. What we need to do is just use it and give it to...
All right, let's just keep on fighting another war for the next 30 years. Are you fucking kidding me? Let's use their frozen...
instead of paying by yourself.
And you're not alone in that thinking. This is $300 billion sitting in European banks that is Russian assets. Well, obviously, you're hearing a different consequence, Ambassador.
Like Russian,
Yes,
like
and I
the
think
country's
this proposal, which
assets?
the European Union is now debating, which is to use the headroom funds from the European budget, is a very smart idea. This would give Ukraine immediate help, and this is a smarter way forward at this moment.
Okay. Meanwhile, I know that for the USA's 250th anniversary next year, you said it's going to be the biggest, most extraordinary birthday party for the United States outside of the USA in Belgium.
Well, it's the greatest honor of a lifetime to serve as President Trump's personal representative to the Kingdom of Belgium. And we have almost 2,000 U.S. Government employees here in Belgium, troops from every branch of service, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, and Air Force. And we are going to be planning the most incredible 250th birthday. We have rented the Cinquantenaire, which is the equivalence of the Arc de Triomphe in Belgium. You saw President Trump's announcement yesterday about Freedom 250. We are working with that leadership team at the White House to produce what will be, I think, the greatest birthday party the world has ever seen. We have contracted with Grucci Fireworks. We are in talks with a major performer, and we expect to have upwards of 5,000 to 10,000 people at this beautiful event. I think the King of Belgium will be there to help us cut the cake, and of course we'll be inviting President Trump to come back to Belgium for a third time with Mrs. Trump and celebrate America's great rich history together.
That is beautiful. I know that Belgium's federal government has reversed a plan to end federal police security in the city of Antwerp's Jewish quarters. That was supposed to happen January 1st, but will retain the added security after the community was outraged. This follows the recent rash of anti-Semitic attacks. Of course, as you know, 15 people were killed in Australia at Bondi Beach during the Hanukkah celebration, Ambassador. What is your take on this?
Well, the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe is a very serious problem. And I thank President Trump and Secretary Rubio for appointing a great rabbi to this important envoy to combat anti-Semitism. And I'm having the rabbi come to Belgium. This is a very serious issue with the rise of migration.
and guys like him to come out officially and just like say, "Bibi, you gotta go," because it's not Israel that we're mad at. It's the current leadership that has been in charge for a long time now. They continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake. Can't be killing innocent civilians, guys. Benjamin Netanyahu, that's got to go. Snake.
Across Europe, this is what President Trump is talking about. The Europe that he has loved and known for all these years is changing terribly with illegal migration. And we are on top of this, Maria. I went and visited a beautiful synagogue. All of the rabbis from around Belgium came. We lit the Hanukkah light with the shamash, and we prayed together for those families that were killed in Australia. And we will not tolerate anti-Semitism in Belgium or anywhere around the world. We stand with the people of Israel and our Jewish friends during this Hanukkah season. And it was important for us to go there to show President Trump support.
Yes, and I love that. Thank you for that, Ambassador. And by the way, I know that you want that Russian LNG company out of Belgium. It's a $50 billion contract. You'd rather it go to U.S. companies. We'll be watching your work on that. Ambassador, good to see you. Merry Christmas, and we hope you'll come back soon. Thank you, sir.
Great to see you, Maria. And I want to do a B2B. That's Bartiromo to Belgium. We'll do a conference here and bring all the economic forces to bear. We're going to be bringing $50 billion back to America for President Trump, and you'll see that announcement soon.
Ooh, $50 billion. Put that on that giant debt that we got. Fox News being Fox News is what it is. He's cool, I guess, but didn't really get much out of him. Let's move on to the next video. The real U.S. quantum fabrication map. Time to change the subject a little bit. All right. Let's watch this here in a second. I gotta go to the restroom, so I'll be right back. give me a little snacky. Oh, I missed something. All right. Found some spicy pimento cheese dip on sale. Why not? All right. Let's check out this quantum fabrication map. Kind of odd, guys. You remember back before all this AI boom, the quantum computing, and we were talking about how dangerous that was going to be. We were going to be able to figure out using it, different paths that we would be able to take going down the road in the future. Well, it's very odd because they've gone quiet, right? And AI rolls out and it's changed the world. It's creative and unbelievably effective. So let's watch this guy.
The real U.S. quantum fabrication map only becomes coherent once captive corporate fabs are separated from generally accessible lab-to-fab infrastructure. My core list of quantum fabs in the United States originally was at 7 facilities that had my attention. Back on December 12th, 2025, we dug into those and this journey started. My list is now more complete, with a total of 26 accessible and hybrid fab facilities plus 5 captive fabs, bringing the total to 31 fabs.
31 places that they're building these machines? Whoa. Not a small number, guys.
Currently tracking. I have been refining what belongs on a true U.S. quantum fab map. And the answer really depends on what the intent of the list ends up being. If the goal is to understand where researchers and startups can fabricate devices today, access remains the primary filter. If the goal is to understand national capability and long-term industrial power, then several closed but strategically decisive facilities must be added back in explicitly. Based on that split, I think tracking both things is ultimately important. The access distinction in this list reflects a spectrum rather than a true binary separation. For example, Rigetti's Fab 1 appears under commercial services because it has offered external foundry programs, but access remains selective and programmatic rather than broadly open.
I wonder how selective they are and what you have to prove and show before you're able to purchase one of these. Certainly more than a computer. We'll have a different term for it in the future, but just calling them quantum machines is probably the better term. It's really interesting. There's a lot of different places that they're building these, and these companies are being selective who they sell them to. I guess I would be too. But if you're non-government, what are you still worried about other than profit? They're thinking ahead. They probably know that if this technology gets in the wrong hands, it's not a good idea.
My plan going forward is to track changes to this list on a quarterly basis to better understand the changing quantum fab landscape in the United States. We are either looking for some clear winners to emerge in terms of capacity or for the number to keep growing while the ultimate sorting occurs. Assuming that quantum computing ends up being an enterprise play, we may see Alphabet or Google and IBM facilities become the anchor to future production, and major consolidation will occur.
Right, and I believe they already are major players. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys know more about this than I do, I'm just retouching this subject because I thought about it the other day. Like, what happened? Why do we not hear more about the quantum side of things?
Right now, things have not become purely modular in the quantum space. Consequently, I'll specifically be tracking process node availability, watching for when these fabs move from generic lithography services to offering standardized quantum grade materials as a standard service. Any of these facilities could end up figuring out the best path forward and end up winning the design race to produce production ready outputs. That means we have to account for accessible quantum fab infrastructure.
Okay, so there's no one that's really like pumping them out right now. It takes time and it's an arduous task, and don't really have a system of building these automated like they would want in the future. It's not as fast as they would hope.
Where designs and testing are going to be occurring. Outside of that, we will probably see more captive but strategically essential additions to the overall fab map. Access really does determine who can experiment, but captive fabs probably will determine where scaling breakthroughs will occur. That's where Alphabet and IBM are probably going to be major enterprise players. Within that analysis, we can assume that Albany remains a structural exception that bridges both layers, and the Sandia and Intel facilities represent security and commercial gravity wells, not shared infrastructure. I'm going to have to really pay attention during the process of digging in and updating this list to make sure sites like PsiQuantum, which are really integration sites, are not mislabeled as fabs. I'm trying to make sure this list is constrained to places where quantum fabrication is occurring in the United States. Below,
I'd really like to see a list, a map of like who's buying these. What are they up to? What's their purpose? What are they working on? That's a really cool idea. You got to start with the production of it all. He's right. The consolidation efforts are going to be underway here soon as some automation, certain components gets patented or just figure it out for patenting, just sell it away. Manufacturing process. It's a rather incredible idea to map this out. Glad that he was astonished by the results too.
Is the complete deduplicated list of 31 quantum capable or maybe quantum adjacent fab facilities in the United States.
Right.
Reflecting everything we have agreed upon so far, I still need to dig into each one of these in more detail to see what exactly they are capable of producing. This list includes both accessible infrastructure and captive strategic fabs with no design centers or integration only sites mislabeled as fabs, to the best of my knowledge right now. So there are 17 open access academic nanofabs that kind of have a fee for services model in this list. There are 5 federal user facilities and national lab capable layers that are in the list. 4 commercial foundries like paid access shuttle models, and then the 5 captive industrial quantum fab sites that we had talked about before. What is intentionally not included in this list of 31 is the PsiQuantum Chicago site that's being built. I think it's really integration and not a development location. I'm trying not to have design-only centers with no fab, cloud-only quantum compute facilities, and overseas fabs used by U.S. companies. I believe at this point, my list of 31 is a correct and defensible count.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Why would you include a building full of engineers? They're just drawing stuff up, essentially. They're artists of mathematical sense, right? They're not the ones actually building it, pumping out product. Our world with these incredible tools
of U.S. quantum capable fab facilities. This list, reflects what's publicly visible right now. So, thanks.
Right on, bud.
Oscar Bevis for the stomping ground available.
No. I want to show you guys that. Hold on. Yeah. Nels Lindahl. 381 subscribers. I'd like to know where the map is. Okay. Oh, wow. Very cool. There's got no comments on it. Yeah, I'm gonna throw him a sub. You guys should go over there too. Give him a like. We're like number 6 and 99 views. Get him to 100, guys. This is pretty cool. Leave the first comment. Girls. Great video. This is the map here. This is a website. Transcript. Okay, he's got a list. State. Skywater. Mesa. State. Nell's great video, and thanks for putting together this treasure trove of findings. Surely this list and map will find the right audience who can take the next step in their quantum endeavors. I would love to know more about where these tools are headed, who is buying them or putting them to task, and for what. A more arduous and secretive mission indeed, but the info would be more than entertaining. Cheers. Get over in this guy's comment section. Seems like a nice dude. Doing some good work. New channel. Show some love. Comment. Also gonna ring that bell. Ring my bell. I want to know more about what he's got coming in the future. Very cool, guys. All right, let's get on to the next video. All right, close that one down. Apple did what Nvidia wouldn't. Nvidia, you better watch out. Your stock's dropping already. And does it have anything to do with this? What day was this? This was December 18th, so a couple days ago, or yesterday, a couple days. It's already got 500,000 views, and Jakku has 333,000 subscribers. So he's outpaced and gone viral. He's got 23,000 likes. Let's like it ahead of time, just for the sake. I'll give him a sub if I like the video. Looks like I'm going to. I'm going to hit him with the playback speed, though, because it's a 20-minute video. We ain't got time for that. All right. Nice. All right, talking.
What have I got myself into this time? Whether you're for or against AI, it's hard to deny that at least on the hardware and engineering side of things, that it's super interesting. I mean, sure, you can pay for a subscription to OpenAI or Google with Gemini for the privilege of spoon-feeding them your data in exchange for some AI goodness, but you can also be like all the cool kids on the playground. Hell, even PewDiePie is doing it these days, and run your AI models locally. Yes, even the computer or phone that you're watching this video on can run a large language model. But you know what can AI better? Not one, not two, but precisely 4 Macintosh, good for a combined total of 1.5 terabytes of unified memory to run the beefiest and absolute baddest large language models out there without having to give Daddy Altman any of our data. If you're a hardware nerd or you're into AI, get subscribed, duh, but you've also probably seen this before. But I promise you, there is something huge that's new. In fact, 2 things: this Mac Studio cluster should be multiple times faster than it was even just yesterday, all while still consuming less than around a half of a North American power circuit, and while realistically costing multiple times less than a solution that can run models in the same class as this. It's basically in a class of its own given the price and the capabilities at this point. It's kind of ridiculous. First is Apple's sneaky release of RDMA over Thunderbolt.
That is incredible. Computers have gotten so cheap, so powerful. You can just buy 4 of them, link them together, and you got a terabyte and a half of unified memory, which, yeah, it's not a ton, but still a lot. And whatever, running an AI, that's plenty here. Good. You keep it private and everything. That's pretty nice.
In the recent macOS 26.2 beta. You probably wouldn't think much of it, but that is going to enable most of the performance increases we're seeing today. And second, the public release of Exo 1.0. That's the software you can use to take 4 Mac Studios like this and turn them into the AI cluster of your frickin' dreams. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. See, if you've tried to run local LLMs and you don't have hard...
Like, ultimately, besides like giving your chat history and prompt history to all these billionaires who are, just collecting data on you, essentially, learning all about you, how you write, what you're interested in, and how you speak to these. You can identify who's really talent out there, all sorts of things. Sell you all sorts of garbage. But what is the main purpose, besides privacy, to having your own at-home system running itself? I don't know. Just forgive me for being naive. I hope he answers that.
This crazy, you've probably noticed that they seem, well, for lack of a better word, kind of dumb, or at the very least less intelligent than when you talk to ChatGPT or Gemini. Don't get me wrong, those small models have their uses. You can't exactly fit a Mac Studio amount of performance, or memory for that matter, in a security camera or a smartphone. It makes sense that they can't compete with the big services, because the models that you're using when you work with ChatGPT are in the range of hundreds or thousands of gigabytes, so large that they need to run in data centers that cost as much as the GDP of a small European country to build, and realistically probably use more energy than those European countries too. But you can also run models of that size on these. Sorry, I'm just making space for my supercluster. I hope you don't mind. Who did this, brother? You see, Apple designed their M series of silicon with unified memory that's shared between both the CPU and graphics cores, which enabled them on the launch of the M3 Ultra chips that are in these Mac Studios to release a SKU with a whopping 512 gigabytes of RAM, which is half of the units we have here. The other half have 256 gigs, both of which were enough to run some insane AI models. The kinds of models that are one-shotting code challenges, and they're only getting better, which is exactly why you, software engineer or total noob, should be checking out boot.dev, who sponsored this portion of today's video. They cracked the code, if you will, on making programming fun and engaging to learn by basically turning it into a video game. I know it sounds crazy, but imagine this. You're learning to do back-end web development by learning Python and SQL and Go, and at the same time, you're earning XP, you're leveling up, and you're completing quests. Heck, you're even doing boss fights all while learning. They have courses for developers of all experience levels with a curriculum that goes super in-depth while still being easy and engaging to follow, and their courses even teach you the tools of the trade while you're working through them. So you learn how to use Linux and Git and Docker. It's kind of crazy, but it's not as crazy as the fact that they give you all the course material, the lessons, the video tutorials, and the starter code on their website for free. So you can start to learn how to build a real web project without any risk to your wallet. And if their interactive learning style works for you, like it's been working for me, then you should use code JAKU to get 25% off an annual plan that gives you all of those fantastic fantastic interactivity features like hands-on coding, AI assistance, progress tracking, all the gamification for all of their courses at the link down in the description. It's genuinely freaking sweet. Love those guys. Like the 70 billion parameter Llama 3.3 model in full FP16. Let's see how fast that goes across one of our Mac Studios. Can you write me a 1,000-word story about how cool BMWs are? Include discussion of oil leaks. Oh God. Took about 2 seconds for the initial response, and we're running at a rate of about 5 tokens per second, which is not the crazy fastest thing out there, but it's not an easy to run model at 150 gigabytes on its own. But now we've got models like DeepSeek where they're 700 gigabytes, or Mistral 3 Large and Kimi K2 in excess of a terabyte in their full weights, which is crazy. But we can handle that with this setup. Right now I've got 10 gigabit Ethernet plugged into all of them, and I'm gonna boot up EXO on the rest, and it should automatically form a cluster for us. And then we'll see how much faster we can make this go just on the same model, and then we'll try one of the bigger ones. Die, my child. Now, if we start EXO on the rest of our Macs, now we have a cluster, baby. Even though we don't need the extra memory from the other machines, we can make use of the compute on the other machines and have that same 70 billion parameter model run way faster, at least in theory. Now, before we try all 4 of them, I'm gonna start by loading that same Llama 3.3 model on 2 of our machines and see how much of a speed up that yields on its own. And then we can go into rocking it on all 4. All right, write me a 1,000-word story about leaky BMWs. Is it gonna go any faster? That is effectively the same speed. 2 seconds to start and 5 tokens a second. That's kind of weird, huh? We are running it across both of them. You can see that we've got 100 watts of power draw on each Mac Studio, and the model is spread across the memory of both of them. But what if we try and run it on all 4? Well,
is it exponential, or is it just gonna cut it down?
Oh, we're still talking about 5 tokens a second. What's the problem? Now you can imagine the data of our model as a book, and when we load that book across the cluster, each machine gets its own set of chapters, but it doesn't necessarily have access to the entire book. That means each computer has to calculate its response to your prompt with the chapters it has access to, and then pass that response, or the partial response, onto the next computer in the cluster before the next computer can even do anything. It's just like a relay race where you run your section, but you have to hand off the baton before the next person can start. Except for our situation, on each lap that the cluster completes, we only get 1 output token, which you can imagine is around 1 letter in the output. In our case, the racetrack is essentially the networking that we're connecting all these machines with. And you can see right now, we're just using 10 gig Ethernet with a 10 gigabit Unify Pro XG8 switch, which I'll have linked down in the description along with all the other hardware we showed off today. That 10 gigabit network.
What is the best networking you can buy for like at-home use?
Is plenty enough bandwidth to transfer what is essentially part of a letter. Our hypothetical relay runners here are so fast that forcing them to talk over standard Ethernet is like the networking equivalent of forcing them to go through airport security every time they need to pass on that baton. So you can imagine when you're asking it to write a 1,000-word story for each letter within those 1,000 words, our cluster here is effectively going through TSA at least 4 times. That works out to a metric shitload of completely random searches, and why, in the enterprise, they use InfiniBand, which has much lower latency.
It's crazy how this is essentially just like passing on bits of data.
Now you can already do better than this simply by using Thunderbolt cables directly connecting all the Macs together rather than using Ethernet with a switch. It's just a little bit lower latency on Apple's stack, or we can bypass this hypothetical security problem entirely by using RDMA. It's kind of the same deal. We're gonna hook up all of our Macs directly with Thunderbolt, but then we need to drop into the recovery menu of our Macs and actually enable it. Now you do need the macOS 26.2 beta, and you have to be using a machine that has Thunderbolt 5. That includes anything M4 Pro or better, as well as the M3 Ultra. Now I'm gonna hook this up exactly as it says in the guide, which honestly is a little strange. How does this even work? So this guy, how am I missing a cable? 1, 2, 3, 5. Where's the 6th? Spaghetti. They're all connected like that. Woohoo. Now with 3 Thunderbolt 5 connections on each of these systems, we're talking about an aggregate connectivity from each of them of around 240 gigabit both ways, but we're not gonna make use of anywhere near that. The real story here is once we have RDMA enabled, the latency cuts down by 99%, which is huge. Hey Arlo, do you like that AI?
Yeah,
oh,
right.
oh, got him.
99%. That's damn near all of it. Low as you go.
Now you're seeing. We can take the same Llama 3.3 70 billion parameter model, select MLX RDMA and tensor sharding. Yeah, Arlo, hey, I don't even know if the RDMA is gonna work right off the bat. Who knows? Maybe I cabled it up wrong. The time to beat is 5 tokens a second. Write me a 200-word story. Holy shit, 9 tokens a second. That's almost double the speed we had running on just 1. Whew, I'm a little bit in shock. That was a bit of a dumpster fire getting that all going. Okay, why don't we try something bigger, like the Kimi K2 Instruct model in a 4-bit quant.
Your what? My quantitative.
540 gigabytes. For a baseline, I'm gonna start with this standard pipeline MLX ring sharding so that we get a good idea of what it would be like before we use RDMA. Once we know how fast that goes, we'll try it with RDMA. This is so freaking cool, man. I'm excited to try the new Mistral models for coding because they apparently are like,
nice.
I suspect it's not gonna go too fast, but we'll give it a shot.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, okay, look at that. This is over Ethernet right now, but it's only transmitting like 20 megabit, 25 megabit. That's it. And we're getting around 22 tokens per second. I'm Uncle Jim, and I hate oil stains the way cats hate bathwater. Now, let's try RDMA and see how fast it actually goes. Oh, and then it crashed, it seemed like. Fast forward, oh my God, like 12 hours of troubleshooting and messing about trying to get this setup to work as I was thinking it should work, and it seems like we're finally there. It wasn't just my changes, they actually have made something like 40 different version updates in the last 2 days just to get this working a little bit more stable. We're definitely at the frontier of this technology. There doesn't really exist another solution for this, as Jeff Geerling so nicely highlighted in his Framework Desktop video.
Jeff Geerling, I feel like I've seen his videos before and it sounds familiar. Not...
I also found out that because my Macs were named differently than they asked, they were expecting them to be named as the cabling image said. In the future, that's a limitation that should disappear, but since this is like definitely tech demo territory, there's some weird quirks with it like that. I also am not able to upload any of my own custom models into this setup. It's very much a set of models that they have pre-curated and determined work properly with this setup. They also have to be models that are in the MLX format for this to work properly on Apple devices with RDMA. However, now we can see how fast you can fit so many AIs in this.
Love that editing.
Bad girl right here, I'll tell you what, and same with this one, and that one over there, and this one over there. As I showed you guys before, one of these
remember, this is 1.5 speed. It's not this crazy.
Mac Studios with Llama 3.3, 70 billion parameters in the FP16 weight that I've been using takes about 2 to 2.5 seconds to start and goes around 5 tokens per second for inferencing. However, when we run it on 2 of our Mac Studios with tensor sharding over RDMA, well, that jumps up to more like 9 tokens a second. However, it's worth noting that that is a dense model, and that means we get really good scaling, even though it seems kind of counterintuitive. And there you have it. We're up to just over 1 second to get started and around 15.5 tokens per second, 3.25 times faster. How about Kimi K2? I talked about that a bunch. Well, in the Instruct version of it in a 4-bit quant, well, you can't actually run this one on just one machine. Even at 4 bits, it's nearly 600 gigabytes. So our baseline is going to be pipelining the model over 2 of the machines. That's essentially the same results we saw before when we were on just Ethernet, and that yielded about 25 tokens a second. And then when we split it across all 4 machines, nearly 35 tokens per second. The scaling is nowhere near as good as a dense model, but it is still a large performance increase, and it does also show that the time to first token going from around 6.5 seconds down to 1.5. That's the kind of latency.
How many tokens is like Grok and ChatGPT running at? Obviously, it's a lot because of the data centers, but
see your users or whatever have to wait for before they even start to see a response. The problem is those models move around a lot in their total parameter pool, which means they do a lot of smaller calculations, at least relative to a dense model. And that adds a lot of overhead, at least in the current software setup. Now, the EXO guys say they are working on optimizing this, but I expect based on what they briefed me with that the results we see on those are not going to be anywhere near as good. But it's kind of hard to complain because what's your alternative at this point? I guess you could buy like 8 Nvidia DGX Spark units, but then it would draw way more power. You would only have the same amount of VRAM as one of these Mac Studios, and it would cost $32,000. Let me show you what I mean, starting with DeepSeek 3.1 in an 8-bit quant running on 2 of these Macs.
I guess that's a pretty funny way if you're going to edit something out, just put something over it instead of just voicing over yourself, making it look weird like a 90s movie or an 80s movie. Just put it some really, really basic early on Microsoft voice. Whatever her name was.
For some reason, it doesn't have the option to run this model pipelined across multiple, just for the VRAM improvement, not for any performance improvement. So I don't have a comparison point less than this, but we can at least try 2 versus 4 in this configuration and see what that looks like. Here's what I'm talking about. DeepSeek V3.1 with 671 billion parameters total only has 37 billion parameters actually active when you're inferencing. It's like 5% only. It took 3.5 seconds for us to get the first token, and it's going at around 20 tokens per second. Now let's boot it up on all 4. See what I mean? Instead of our pretty linear scaling that we were seeing before, we went from getting 20 tokens a second to getting 24 tokens a second. Sure, the time to first token dumped a lot, from 3.5 down to under 2, but you can see how much less efficient it is to parallelize these mixture of expert models than it is to parallelize a dense model, at least for now. So clearly the performance is pretty awesome, and with future optimization, in theory, we'll be able to get even further on the same hardware again, which is so cool to think about. However, what do you use this for, right? Because
exactly, like, what are you really gonna use it for?
if you're using those fancy OpenAI models or Google models or Claude or whatever, you can use them with Claude Code, you can use them in Cursor, you can use them in VS Code. However, we don't really have that infrastructure for this setup. Fortunately, EXO does provide an OpenAI compatible API that you can interact with your models with directly, even when you have multiple loaded. Now, that was something that didn't work when I first tried this, and after their bajillion updates is working a lot better, so you can have more than one model loaded at the same time. However, I tried a bunch of different AI coding agents, and none of them seemed to talk to it properly. OpenCode was the closest I got where it actually was giving me good responses. However, the tool use just like didn't work at all. The EXO guys told me that they're working on that or whatever. I mean, you can at least use it in Jan, like, hey, generate.
So ultimately it comes down to how much user input it's had, right?
A website, and I mean, it does. It even says you can just copy paste this, bro. We can just take this and paste it into a website and then open it up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Duh. Wait, why did it pick Ludwig? What the? I wasn't subscribed to Ludwig. But I wanted to like go directly into a file or read files and have that context, and it's just not quite there yet. You know what I'm interested to see though is how much power it's actually drawing during this. So let's ask it to write a much longer story. It's drawing around 115 to around 125 watts. Put that all together and we're at around 480 watts for a mixture of experts model where it's really not making perfect use of all that hardware. Let's switch back to Llama for a second and see what the power draw is like when we're running that, where it actually like really can make good use of the hardware. So much. Oh, it failed. What?
It's delusional.
They're using some like very beta features that Apple added to sync the CPU and GPU when running an MLX model like this. Apparently it's not the most stable thing in the universe. So I'm gonna close EXO on all the machines, start back up again, and then we'll try. Oh, that's wadding up the hoo-ha. That's a weird thing to say. With dense Llama 3.370
Love how animated he is. Yeah, let's go.
Our power draw is more like 600 watts. That's actually less than one H200 Nvidia GPU. Can do around 50 tokens a second on one H200 at FP8 instead of FP16. So half the size of the model. So why don't we try that across our cluster? Now for reference, an H200 is somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 US. Yep, 26 tokens a second. So we're just about half. It's just really cool to be able to see what we can do with existing hardware and a little, or frankly, probably a lot of software optimization. This is the same hardware you could have bought all the way back in March of this year, and now it's getting this much performance uplift. It's really, really freaking cool. I'm not gonna lie and say there isn't a part of me that goes, I wish the reason we were pushing for optimizations like this wasn't for something that so many people use for bad stuff, but I've been trying to reconcile in my head that just because there are bad things that people do with AI doesn't mean there isn't also good things. My first thought when they offered me the opportunity to try this setup out was, dude, I should use this to replace my Alexa and build like freaking the most insane home voice assistant ever.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the apps that are out there for connecting Home Assistant to an OpenAI compatible API just didn't seem to work for me.
Really?
So I don't know. How about get subscribed? Because I've got these for like 2 more months, and that means I can spend some time making that work, and then maybe I'll just have to buy a couple. I mean, I don't need to run a 700 gigabyte model for my voice assistant, but and while you're down there, don't forget to check out boot.dev, who sponsored this video. It's a fantastic tool to gamify learning how to code. You can also hit the like button while you're down there and comment. Let me know what you would do with this much absolutely ballin' compute.
What?
Very cool. All right, remind us his name. Jakkuh, Jakkuh. Give him a like, guys. Put down a comment. Tell him what's up. All right. Now, let's see why this island could trigger World War III. Uh-oh. I wonder which island that might be. It's 30 minutes, man. I don't know if I want to do that right now. 8 minutes. Uh-oh. Yeah, Japan's about to pull the trigger, pull the rug. Yikes, this is going to be interesting. All right, guys, here we go. Japan just pulled the trigger. Brace for impact. Bravos Research, 600,000 subs. Got 6.1K, 280,000 views. 1 day ago. Jeez, doing well.
You're back up 14 basis points. That's one of the biggest moves we've seen, and it's now back, as you just said, to a yield that we haven't seen since 1999.
And the thought is if the yields rise, that money's going to go from the U.S. back to Japan.
I think it could be to a real detriment to their economy and a slowdown, which would flow back here into the U.S.
Something incredible is happening. The yield on a 30-year Japanese bond is beginning to catch up to the yield on a 30-year U.S. bond. The closing of this gap may be the most significant global macroeconomic development happening right now. Many believe that the moment these two lines cross will be precisely the trigger for the global debt bubble popping. You see, Japanese yields are spiking to the highest level in decades, making this a tidal shift in Japan's economic system. Japan is one of the most indebted developed economies with a $10 trillion debt burden, making it an ideal candidate to kickstart a global debt crisis. Because it's not just Japan. China, the UK, France, but of course the United States with now a $38 trillion debt pile, and all of them are interconnected to each other through the ownership of their debts. Japan, for example, holds over $1 trillion worth of US Treasury bonds, making it by far the largest global holder of US debt. A shock to the Japanese economy would certainly have spillovers to the US. But to really understand what kind of spillovers, we need to take a look at what is actually happening right now in Japan. By all accounts, the country is in the early stages of a sovereign debt crisis. They have a debt burden that is roughly twice the size of their economy, which means the Japanese government spends the equivalent of 25% of their annual budget just to pay down their debt. Now, for years there was no real consequence to this, but now investors are waking up to this reality, creating a rush for the exit out of the Japanese debt and currency. Their bond yields are spiking, and the Japanese yen is weakening at the same time. So far, all pretty textbook sovereign debt crisis stuff. But the key component to all of this is why this is happening right now and how it could get much worse. We currently have a short position on the Japanese yen at bravosresearch.com. We sent out the alert to that trade to our clients a couple of weeks ago. We're using a leveraged short ETF on the yen because we think it may be about to collapse. We're currently doing a live stream on this topic where we're highlighting exactly how we'll be trading the Japanese yen on our live trading channel. It's linked down below if you want to watch it. The reason why all of this is happening right now can be found on this chart right here. It's the 3-year average of Japanese inflation. For decades, the Japanese inflation rate averaged around 0%. In fact, often dipping below 0% into deflation, which means consumer prices in Japan were actually going down. And the entire Japanese economic system was built on this. As you can see, it's now completely reversing. Japanese inflation has been averaging around 3% for the last 3 years, and all of the excesses that were built over the last 20 years are now coming up to the surface. Low inflation allowed the Japanese government to increase its spending substantially at very low interest rates with little to no consequence. One of the big policies that Japan pushed during this era was something called quantitative easing. To explain it very briefly, the Japanese government was spending a lot of money by issuing bonds, which means borrowing. Normally, regular investors need to buy those bonds, and if there's not enough demand for these bonds, that can make bond yields go up. But instead of risking bond yields going up, the Japanese central bank came in and printed money to buy all of those bonds and keep the bond yields low. Now, printing money to buy bonds is something that you can do when you're not worried about inflation. But once inflation starts to appear, you need to stop printing money to prevent it from going out of control, and that can cause bond yields to spike. And this is exactly what's happening right now. This is the Japanese central bank's balance sheet, and it shows us that over the last 2 decades, the central bank has been accumulating Japanese bonds. But since 2022, as inflation has finally appeared, the Japanese central bank had to stop printing money to buy bonds, and more recently, they've even had to reduce the size of their balance sheet, which means the selling of bonds. Ever since they started to do that, it has prompted Japanese bond yields to soar as the market is realizing that the single biggest buyer of Japanese bonds has just turned into a seller. So how does all of this impact the US? With Japanese interest rates going up for the first time in decades, many believe that this is going to push Japanese holders of US debt to dump their US dollars and go into Japanese bonds instead to collect the higher interest. And this is a perfectly rational argument, but it is a little bit simplistic. This is the size of Japan's government debt against the size of the Japanese economy. It's 2.4 times bigger. This is a very important metric because a country raises tax money from their economy in order to pay the debt. A very large debt relative to the economy can put a country in a very difficult situation. Now, this is the relative size between the US debt against the size of its economy. It's 1.2 times larger. So believe it or not, the US is actually in a much more sustainable fiscal situation than Japan. For example, if Japanese interest rates were to rise too much, it could make their debt impossible to pay back and risk a government default. They may even be forced to print money again despite high levels of inflation in order to keep their bond yields low. The US, at least for now, is not in that situation. And we can see that by simply looking at the Japanese central bank interest rate adjusted for inflation. This is what it looks like. Japanese interest rates are negative when adjusted for inflation, meaning that if you are a holder of the Japanese yen, you are losing purchasing power every year. Compare that with the US interest rate.
Eliminating all the debts and just resetting everything. And restart the economic system. Too many people that have been bad actors for too many years, taking advantage of this new rule. Being able to move around the globe, knowing the right people. It's not something that everyday people have traditionally had access to. Now we do. We have apps, and there are ways to do it yourself now. Awesome. But there's a lot of wealth accumulation that has occurred up to this point from previous generations that out of Japan, they're kind of screwed. Is it fair?
And we see a big gap between the two. That shows us the US dollar is still a much more attractive currency to hold than the Japanese yen when adjusted for inflation. Choosing between US debt and Japanese debt is like needing to choose between going on a boat that has a few holes in it or going on another boat that is already half submerged. You would probably just rather stay on the land, which in this case is gold, which explains why it's the best performing asset so far this year. When we look at the US dollar index, which measures the dollar's performance against a basket of other currency, it has been weakening over the course of the last few years, which has provided tailwinds to assets like gold, silver, but also Bitcoin and the stock market that thrive when the dollar status weakens. But when we add the US dollar's performance against the Japanese yen, we see that it has actually been strengthening against the yen during this period of time. And this is despite Japan seeing its bond yields rise to the highest levels in decades. This widening gap confirms exactly what we just talked about. If anything, the Japanese debt crisis has allowed the US dollar to strengthen and has probably prevented the US dollar's decline from being much more severe. This is the real spillover that we're seeing from Japan, a stronger dollar. In fact, we see this as a major opportunity to trade, because on one hand, we have many bets against the US dollar through our trades on silver, copper, metal miners, and foreign stocks, but our bet against the Japanese yen in a way hedges our exposure against all of these trades. If the dollar strengthens, our weak dollar bets may take a little bit of a hit, but that will make our trade on the Japanese yen appreciate significantly. If the dollar continues to weaken as we expect, on the other hand, our weak dollar bets will thrive, and we still think our bet against the Japanese yen can do well. We explain all of this on our website at bravosresearch.com and send you the live alerts every single time we make a trading decision. We trade stocks, commodities, crypto. These have allowed us to make some incredible gains over the course of the last couple of years. So if you're interested...
All right. Small Brain Pod, 78.9 thousand subscribers. Like his video. 40,000 views 1 month ago. Tokyo sucks ass. I felt like this was an appropriate video to follow through.
Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Small Brain Podcast, where today you're joining us from Tokyo, Japan, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I haven't been having a very good time. And yes, I'm going to piss off a lot of my viewers. I'm going to really offend you with this one, probably more so than the India opinions, because I just don't like Tokyo. I think it's like harder to find cool shit to do here, or it is, or maybe it's too easy to find cool stuff to do. It's there's too much going on. There's too many people. There's too many whites, and I just want to break it down for you guys today. Okay, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all the terribly racist rants in the future as I post them. Make sure you get
so
notified.
racist.
Let's see, where do we begin?
Dude, when I landed in Tokyo, I was so confused. You know, all these other countries, they've got English written around, kind of telling you where to go. People use a lot of English. Not in Japan, you know. Yeah, wow. It was an eye-opener, and really freaked me out, you know. At least I had like public transportation use English, other than telling me not to lean up against where the trains pull through. Like, when it comes to telling you what not to do, written in English, as far as like where to go and how to get around and how to pay for shit, like there's no good luck. Look it up.
Well, I will say I've been in Japan about 9 days, 10 days almost. You know, I landed in Osaka. I did kind of a ambitious drinking video. I did pretty much 3 days straight, just like a booze hound. Went to Tenjin Matsuri. It's like a fireworks festival, one of the biggest in Japan. I think the biggest is actually in Kyoto. but this is like the second biggest one, I think, in Japan. Huge festival. Fireworks and street food and you know, cold beers on ice. Friendly locals. Met up with my buddy Ian. He's a stand-up comic in Austin, Texas. And we've just been booling around Japan, just absolutely getting smashed and calling each other gay in front of the Japanese salaryman. And they absolutely love it. Little travel hack for you. Just call your friend gay and everyone will immediately love you. No, it's been a really good time. I feel like the trip started really well in Osaka. That's just like my bread and butter, man. I don't think I could ever film a bad video there. So in a lot of my drinking videos, I'll just barge into a random bar. And, you know, not every bar that I go into makes the final cut for YouTube. It's not always like the greatest experience, right? I'm not going to include me going in and then having like an awkward, I mean, unless it's funny, I'll always include the funny stuff. But if it's just uncomfortable and no one's talking to me and they don't want me to film, then it's not really going to make the video. So, you know, every now and then that will happen. Although I will say most of the time it doesn't happen. But that's always what I'm afraid of. That's the risk that I'm taking when I'm going into these bars, shoving a camera in people's faces when they're just trying to decompress. I understand ethically it's not like the greatest thing, but I do try to do it in like a subtle way and the way that, you know, people feel comfortable. Anyways, all this goes to say, I walked into this one little bar district and it was scary, man. I was afraid that they were gonna, you know, shun me a little bit, or you just never know when you're just walking into a random bar. Again, I don't pick these places out. I don't have a producer. I don't select them ahead of time. I know like a neighborhood that has a good atmosphere, and then I just go there. Right. And for all the people in my DMs asking me, oh, what should I do when I go to Japan? What should I do when I go to Japan? Just do that. Just literally do that. I'm not going to give you like a pin. I'm not going to give you like a secret bar that I know about. I'm not going to, you know, give you the coordinates of some like amazing place. It's literally just as you see me filming the video, I am literally figuring it out as I go there. I mean, I know the neighborhoods, obviously. I know Osaka very well. But places like Tokyo, I don't fucking know. I have no fucking idea. Even in Osaka, I couldn't tell you the name of any bar I've ever gone to in Osaka. Not one. Honestly, even the bar I worked at, in Osaka for 3 or 4 months, I didn't know the name. I never learned the name. I knew the name of the building. I knew the name of the neighborhood. But it's not like in America where there's like a big flashing sign. Or maybe there is, but I just can't fucking read it, so I don't even try. So I'm walking down this like random alley, and it didn't seem promising. It was just kind of like a dark kind of, you know, just kind of a shitty little grungy alley. And a lot of these Japanese bars, they're nestled in like a big building, right? So maybe in one building there's like, you know, 5 to 15 or 20 bars, right? And you kind of have to go up an elevator and then you have to walk in. And it's not like surveying bars in America where you're walking down like 6th Street in Austin, or you're walking down, you know, in, I don't know, College Street in Athens, Georgia, UGA. It's not like that where you can see the atmosphere like from the street. You kind of have to go in and like commit, right? So anyways, I'm just walking into this random building, and, you know, but I hear laughter coming from this bar. So I just walk in, and classic Osaka fashion. Everybody just greets me with open arms. They ask me where I'm from. I tell them I lived there. We break down, you know, the cultural barriers over like 7 or 8 beers. We smoke some cigarettes in the corner of the bar. It was actually so funny. They had a smoking corner in the bar, which actually reminded me, it was very nostalgic for like the 90s growing up in America when they used to have, you know, the smoking section in like the Cracker Barrel or something. And that tells you everything you need to know about my socioeconomic status growing up. Going to Cracker Barrel was like, you know, a big deal for us. But anyways, even if they have a smoking section, it's still going to bother everyone else. I mean, it's smoke. It billows out of the section into the other section. That's the nature of smoke, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. But the idea that in an even smaller bar, by the way, like probably the size of this apartment, really, really, really small bar, you know, 7 or 8 people just jammed in there, and I'm just in the corner smoking. But they have like a little divider, so they feel like they're actually, you know,
being polite,
helping out the other patrons. They're not being rude by smoking right in their faces. They're like, I was like, can I smoke in here? They're like, no, you can't smoke in here, but you can smoke in the corner. I'm like, I don't think that's...
Put your dunce cap on.
okay, I mean, I'm going to smoke in the corner, but I just want you to know that this is doing nothing. This is a little flimsy little plywood. Anyways, that was a great time. I got absolutely smashed. It was probably the most drunk, maybe the most drunk ever on camera I've ever been. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Probably the Myanmar series. I was fucked up. I actually, watching that back, I actually couldn't believe I was still forming like full and complete sentences and not slurring every word because I was so fucked up. Also, it may have been the heat. Maybe the heat was exacerbating the drunk. But who knows? But yeah, dude, this time I was fucking lit in Osaka. This dude I met was screaming in my face. We were just chanting Japanese sayings. I had no idea what they mean. I think I may have hailed Hitler a few times on accident by saying that we...
You did not. Yeah, that's so funny. You start just like mimicking and just copying whatever they're trying to teach you instead of getting definition in the translation. It's hilarious because you're probably not saying things right, but you're saying something funny.
We lead with our hearts in Osaka. You know, it wasn't this exact gesture, but I think you know what I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah.
I had so many beers I turned racist.
Well, Asians are the most racist
Osaka
people
was the
out there,
shit,
right?
dude. It was just such a good time.
It's like other Asians.
It's exactly what I look for when I come to Japan. So I think I did like one day of drinking, and then I went out with those people in Kyobashi. That video's in Kyobashi, by the way. Another example of Kyobashi coming through. It is just the best borough, I guess you could call it, in all of Japan. It's on the Osaka Loop Line, and there's just reliably fun experiences to be had there. You're not going to get the Umeda experience, the really flashy, polished, you know, Hankyu, you know, this huge mall with like designer stores. You're not going to get that in Kyobashi. You're going to get like hostess bars, karaoke joints, snack bars, smoky izakayas, you know, sticky floors, cigarettes inside. It's just exactly what I'm looking for when I come to Japan. And actually, looking back on my life, I can't believe that I was stationed there, for lack of a better word. I can't believe I got a job in the best neighborhood in all of Japan. Or maybe I'm just thinking that it's the best because I lived there and I think fondly of it. But, you know, needless to say, Kyobashi is just the greatest. And you know, I had a lot of fun filming there. So,
fun to say.
And then I went Egan. We did Tenjin Matsuri. We called each other gay 1,000 times. The Japanese salaryman loved it. Somebody showed us their cock. I may or may not have got that on camera. You may or may not have to subscribe for the Patreon to view that. If you want to see a Japanese man's dick, I don't know. That's really up to you. The pubes were out of control. I'll just say that. Jesus Christ, Osaka. You come through in so many surprising ways. But anyways, yeah, then me and Egan went from Osaka, and now we're in Tokyo. And I said unfortunately earlier, because I really mean it, I really do not like Tokyo. I don't like it. I don't like where every fifth person is a foreigner. I don't like that I can hear the Midwestern accents, you know, sprinkled throughout Shibuya Station. I don't like that I see fat, sweaty, pink, swollen, confused, jet-lagged American tourists everywhere. Am I describing myself? Yes, I am. But I don't want to see a mirror held up to myself. I don't need that. I want to feel special when I come to Japan. I lived here, guys. Like I know more than you. Right? I'm better than you. Okay?
You want to feel like you're the minority. Yeah, you're the pearl. Yeah, I understand that feeling. You know, at times it can be a little uncomfortable, though, too.
All right. I'm not just an average tourist, although being in Shibuya does make me feel like that. It makes me feel like a brain-dead, jet-lagged idiot. And I mean, truly I am. I am that. I'm trying to pretend like I'm not by coming here. And by having taken a job here, 7 years ago. I can say I got in before everybody else. I can say I'm like one of those Bitcoin bros. Oh. That got in early, right? But it's not like I have any claim to Japan. It's not like, I make colonizer jokes all the time, but it's not like I can own anything here. I am just a tourist. That is the reality. I, am a drop in the bucket. And you really feel it distinctly, very acutely in Shibuya. I made the mistake. I love Egan. Great guy. Hilarious. Go check him out doing stand-up in Austin. But I followed him to Shibuya for convenience. And god damn it, I don't know if I should have, man. Like, this hotel is in...
I hate it when you do that. Find a good deal or whatever, and then you get there and you're like, what am I doing here? This neighborhood is not it. Building is not it. This bed is not it. The view, terrible. I understand that feeling, bro. Yeah.
The worst place for someone like me. Like, I don't like crowds. I don't like being around a ton of foreigners. I maybe it's like a developing phobia that I'm experiencing right now, but I don't want to be in a massive crowd of people and not know comfortably that I can escape, right? Like, if I'm jammed in a train car, what if something happens? What if there's a fucking tsunami? There's going to be like a wave of people. There's going to be like, an onslaught. It's going to be like a Travis Scott concert. If something actually really popped off in Shinjuku Station, if there was an earthquake and the ceiling started caving in, that's the last place you want to be, dude. And by the way, the Nankai Trough is expected to create a cataclysmic, apocalyptic, Armageddon-like earthquake / tsunami in Japan in the next 30 years. It's going to happen. So being in Tokyo, being in Osaka, where for sure there's going to be a deadly tsunami soon, is frightening, and my anxiety gets the best of me. For sure. I don't know. Maybe it's the heat, maybe it's the jet lag, maybe it's the million beers I've had during my time here, but I just don't like Shibuya. I really don't. I mean, I know I joke about it in the videos to like get people on my side, drinking in Osaka just to make some friends. Yeah. But no, sincerely, like, I do not like, Shibuya, Shinjuku. Osaka's cool. Osaka's kind of pretty. What's the one with all the anime and stuff? Weebs, leave it in the comments. What's the neighborhood with all the anime and stuff? I think it's Asakusa. Anyways, I just don't like it, man. It's too intense. There's too many people. Tokyo just sucks balls. It sucks, man. It sucks. And there's so many other places in Japan to go see. Egan and I'll have Egan on my podcast for the next episode. We're going to talk about what we did today, which is batshit crazy. Went to the tomb of Jesus Christ, where he's allegedly born. I saw this Chris Broad video, however many years ago, where he went. And I was like, I want to go do this myself. I think this would be hilarious. And especially with Egan, because he's like kind of a Catholic influencer online. So I just thought it'd be an excellent matchup for our time in Japan. But enough of that. We'll get to that tomorrow. But going out to Hachinohe, where it was, like in the North Japan,
a bit. You got to take a train.
Almost to Hokkaido, the northernmost island. First of all, it's cooler there. It's like, 5 degrees Fahrenheit cooler, like 2 Celsius cooler, which, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in Shibuya, when it's like 95 Fahrenheit, to go from like 95 to like, 86, 87.
Big deal.
It's nice, man. It makes a big difference. It really does. It goes from like, I'm, sweltering hot, I'm about to melt on the sidewalk, to like, okay, I could walk around, you know what I'm saying? Put on some sunblock, put on a hat, and I could walk around. It's way more manageable like that, for sure. But not only that, but like
it's interesting. He doesn't like the places that I was planning on going if I wasn't sick. I think, I don't know. I kind of like touristy places. There's a reason they're touristy. It's because they're fucking awesome. But, he's like that solo traveler that to find his way through some real uncomfortable shit.
Population density. There's nobody out there, man. It's all rice fields,
right?
Nice people, local trains. They didn't even take fucking the Suica, the Tokyo transit card, that you had to get a paper ticket, right? So going from here, Shibuya, to there, it was so relaxing and rejuvenating. And I just got back, right? I'd literally just closed the door, ripped on the, started the podcast, because it's all fresh. I had to fucking endure Shibuya Station and Shinjuku Station after, having, a paradise-like experience. Okay? You almost had me there. I almost lost my train of thought. I didn't, though, because I'm so fired up. I really don't like Tokyo. I think it's for the pigs. It's for the piggies, the swollen, pink, white, sweaty, hairy, nasty piggies, the lost, jet-lagged idiots. You know, I'm sorry. It's great.
Probably gonna have to call.
Let me back this up. I don't want to alienate people because I know a lot of people love
complaining about a place that I really want to check out.
It's great.
So I don't know if I really.
If it is your first or second, maybe even your third time
with it,
maybe. But for me, after the first time being here, it lost its charm completely. I mean, yeah, there's some sites that are cool if you go without the tours or, you know, without all the crowds. Like if you go to Asakusa Shrine, beautiful place, objectively beautiful. I understand why it is popular. I really do. I understand. But its popularity has severely diminished the quality of the experience. So what I would suggest is there's a hostel behind Asakusa Shrine. If you dare go to Tokyo, if you dare. There is a hostel behind Asakusa Shrine. It's like a little capsule hotel. Ooh, everybody wants to stay in a capsule hotel. When in reality, a capsule hotel is just a fucking hostel. It's just a hostel. They've just rebranded the idea of a hostel. Ooh, you're in a capsule. You're not in a coffin. You're not in a fucking death trap, right? They're glamorizing the fact that you can't sit up in your own bed, right? And there's these viral videos online of all the fucking brain-dead influencers doing capsule hotel reviews. It's just a hostel. That's all it is. It's like a cleaner hostel. Anyways, it's besides the point. This is a hostel. It doesn't brand itself as a capsule hotel, but it's behind Asakusa Shrine, or at least it was 2 years ago. If you wake up, if you still have jet lag, you've just landed in Japan, you have jet lag, you know, you wake up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to Asakusa Shrine. It's like a 5-minute walk from this hostel. I can't remember the name. I'm not going to look it up, but I think I found it on Hostel World. But guys, that is the way to experience Tokyo. That is the way to experience Kyoto. Wake your ass up early. I don't care how many beers you had last night. You're only in Japan 12 days. Get your ass out of bed and go see some cool shit. Yes, you will be exhausted, but your future self will thank you, okay? If you dare go to Tokyo, if you dare, all right, I know a lot of you will go. Statistically speaking, a lot of my viewers will enjoy Tokyo. I understand. I've had some good times in Tokyo myself. You know, I really have. But you just gotta get way more crafty with getting off the beaten path. And you know what? In a lot of these places, they're not gonna be pumped to see you. Like if you're in Umeda in Osaka, or if you're in fucking, in Shibuya, at Shibuya Crossing, you think those motherfuckers, those Japanese people working there are gonna be excited to see you? Do you think they care where you're from? Do you think they find you interesting whatsoever? They don't. It's just, there's so many people, it's turned into like India, right? I know that's fucking sacrilege to say on this podcast, and I apologize. I really do. But people just see you as a wallet, like you're a business opportunity, right? And I'm not saying you're gonna get scammed or hounded by touts, unless they're, you know, you get scammed by the Nigerians in Roppongi. That's another story. Or in Amemura in Osaka, there's some.
Guys, narcolepsy is kicking in. Not that anybody's watching right now, anyways.